guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. Just want to say first thing for anybody who's like not a fan of the intro, for the replay viewers, I am like yesterday's live. I went back and timestamped everything we went over to make it easier. I'll timestamp when the intro ends. Melissa actually showed me a new way to do that. That makes it really easy for you guys. So as soon as the live ends, I will do that. I also want to just start by saying thank you again to Melissa for sending so many of you guys over here to watch the trial. I appreciate that so much, and I appreciate you guys for coming. I'm taking it serious, so I'll rewatch the opening statements from yesterday. And hello, all you guys. I will say hello to you guys individually once, and talk with you once we get started. But I just wanted to kind of run through a couple things first. So like I said, I do want to take this serious. To me, it's important. We're talking about a very serious situation with real people, and I want to have the information correct. So I wasn't able to take good notes yesterday because the computer was acting up and I didn't want to stop and reset it or anything. So I went in today and rewatched, and I just want to run through a couple quick things before we start with our first witness. So from my notes. The opening statements start with, talking about Kristine. Kristine Melton was 35 years old. She was found in her home, wrapped in bedding, tied with her own clothes. Her face was black and blue, fingernails broken. She was on the floor. Now, wrapped in her own clothes, we know that. And we learned yesterday his ex-girlfriend has a similar story of something he did to her. Diane Ruiz, she was 43 years old, found in an empty lot under some shrubs. She had a broken nose, a hyoid bone, broken thyroid cartilage, and multiple rib fractures. Now, these women, he said they have three things in common. Their date of death was October 7th, 2019. They were both strangled, and the last person they were both with was Wade. So on October 7th, we know Wade runs into the graphic store and confesses he's got blood on him, no shirt. He ends up fleeing. And then the opening statement shifts back to Kristine's best friend, Stephanie, them going out that night with a guy named Jayson, going back to Jayson's home where Wade and Kristine get intimate. Kristine, they all go back to Kristine. Stephanie leaves, and she saw no red flags. So Wade ends up, taking her life, takes her keys, uses her face to open her phone, and takes her phone. And so that's where he kind of goes, like, for some reason, that's how the opening statement went. It kind of skipped around like that, and it goes to him calling Mila. We know that he goes to the spa. He tries to pull her into the car and all of that. Then he goes to Cape Coral, where he encounters Diane walking to work. They talk about her purse that she loses and her bloodstains that were in the vehicle he was driving. Her body was dumped, and a neighbor happens to witness a vehicle going back and forth, back and forth. We know, and he mentions how Wade later confesses and says he drove over her repeatedly until she looked like spaghetti. Mila tries to help get him to this location, Joe's Crab Shack, where he comes to, but then he gets away. And that's when he goes to the graphic store, and we're back to where the opening statements kind of left off when it skipped around. So after he leaves the graphic store, he breaks into this home. We know he showers, he drinks some of their stuff. He calls his dad and tells his dad, kind of brags to his dad about what he's done. And his dad, ultimately is the reason that he was caught. He later tells police, when asked why, that he just wanted to do it, why he did what he did to Kristine. And they say, what about Miss Ruiz? And he says, F it. I just killed her. I already had one down. I already had gotten one down. And both victims' phones were found in the car. So that's basically the rundown of what I got from the opening statement. And I wanted to kind of run through that just really quickly. Okay, just 1 second. Let's see. Hey, Jules, perfect watch for my daughter and I being sick. That's what I thought. Like we can all just kind of hang out and listen together. So we're going to go ahead and get started in a second. I'll be chatting with you guys in the chat some, pausing along the way. Of course, I did pin a channel at the top of the chat where I think they have the best videos from the trial. They're in order, and that's where I'm kind of playing from. Hey, Nanya. So yeah, it is disgusting. So yeah, I guess we're going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, at the end, also, I'll timestamp my little summary of the opening statements and when it starts. And for replay viewers, I'll try to do that as we go along the way, just so you guys know. So let's see. Yeah, I hope you guys feel better soon too, Jules. I should have said that. I'm so sorry. I get like, where I'm just thinking about like wanting to get out what I want to get out. And I definitely should have said that as well. I definitely hope you feel better. Listen to me repeating myself, looking for words. Okay, let me share my screen and pull up this thing. So we know that the first witness is Joshua. Don't know how to say his last name, but I know they're going to make him spell it out for us. He is the person from Mateo's graphics. Hey, Tony. Harley Quinn. Oh, no, I was sitting right here and didn't press play. Hey, Creative Minds, perfect time for a live, a cold day in Buffalo. We'll snuggle up, get some good snacks. I'll probably be snacking along the way and doing all the things with you guys. And, yeah, we'll pause. Also, if anybody wants to add something up here, let me know. I'll drop the link. And, yeah, I just appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, let's get started. Oh, cereal, mommy. Happy New Year to you. 444. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I did not mean to say, I didn't mean to set it for 4 Eastern because of the 4s, which makes it even more creepy and weird that I did, because I was thinking I want to go for like at least 3 hours. We have a lot to get through in the coming days. It's definitely going to last further than the weekend, and I don't know exactly how that's going to look, but, I thought, I want to go at least maybe 3 hours. Melissa might go on around 7. I should probably set it for 4. And then later I was like, oh my gosh, Lynn listening to Melissa's live. So yeah, hey, Allie B. It's cold here in Oklahoma City. Is that where you're at, Jessica? I'm almost always replay crew here and Melissa, so my name looks unfamiliar, but I look forward to making new friends. Well, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to turn on the closed captioning, and I'll try to place it and make it kind of big so people can see it better. We can kind of adjust that, or we can adjust it, not kind of. Hey, Remy. 3:15, and yeah, Jessica, I thought about that too. Well, maybe we'll end at like 4 in some of your time zones. Okay, here we go.
Good morning. Christine Elton was 35 years old when she died. She was found in her South Cape Coral residence.
Hold up. This is
wrapped
what we.
in some.
This is not what we want. Now, here we go.
Good morning, sir. Please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury by telling them your name.
Joshua Lukitch.
And Mr. Lukitch, what do you do for a living, sir?
Joshua, see, Lukitch. I'll have to go back and double check the spelling. Sorry about that, you guys.
I own a screen printing and T-shirt and sign company.
And what is the name of that screen printing sign company?
Mateo Graphics.
And where is that business particularly located?
Hancock Bridge Parkway.
And do you know a gentleman by the name of Wade Wilson?
Yes.
How do you know him?
An acquaintance through a friend of mine who had a business down in Conkey.
I'd like to direct your attention specifically to the 7th of October, 2019. What were you doing that day?
It was a normal business day. I was just dealing with clients that morning.
And so were you at your business at that time?
Yes.
Would that be at 2309 Hancock Bridge Parkway?
Yes.
Did there come an occasion when you came into contact with Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
would you please describe, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how that came about?
Wade came in a black car. He backed to one of the buildings on the property there, and he came up to my truck, my vehicle, when I was on the property, and I was with a client at that time, so I told him to give me a moment, and I'll be right with him. And once I went to the building, he was there trying to get a plane ticket or a bus ticket or whatever he could from me to leave town.
And when you saw Mr. Wilson, could you please describe for us what he was wearing at the time?
He was wearing sweatpants only, no shoes, no shirt. He was bloody, and he was missing a couple of teeth.
Could you
Oh,
please describe?
hold on a second. I just watched a video last night on TikTok. I was looking for something that came up in Melissa's live on TikTok. And I saw they were talking about, his dad was talking about how he had been in prison before the murders. And that is where he lost some of his teeth. But yeah, he comes up, sweatpants, no shoes, no shirt, and covered in blood. So I'm curious if the teeth was just from prior to his prison time, or hello, Melissa. Was that so? Did he lose any from the murders, or does this guy just notice, whoa, this dude's missing teeth, and they were long gone at that point? Sweatpants, no shoes, no shirt. Forgive me. I want to take notes so we can keep track along the way. Okay, let's keep listening.
Before, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what his demeanor was.
His demeanor was frantic, in a rush to leave as quickly as he could, because he had just done something horrific and killed people.
When he was speaking to you, asking you for your assistance, did that give you any cause of concern?
Not right away. And once I took a look at him again, I started to believe what he was saying.
And exactly what was he saying to you?
He said he killed people, and he rolled up someone in a carpet or bedding or whatever it was, and that he also needed to get out of town. He needed a plane ticket and a bus ticket or anything.
I did not know. I'm shocked he went into so much detail, even about rolling her up in a carpet or bedding or whatever which is what he said. And Jessica, thank you so much. Thank you. Because I'll put it on the banner so everybody has his name. Thank you. Okay.
Anything he could.
So was he frantically asking you for assistance?
Yes.
Was he pacing back and forth inside of your business?
Inside of the building, yes. Yes.
And were you inside that business at the same time?
Yes.
Were you two the only two people in that
Yes.
time? When he was asking you for assistance to leave, to get that plane ticket, how were you responding to him?
I responded to him by telling him that a friend of mine called and said that he was beating up Mila in the parking lot that morning. And I confirmed on that. I said, if that's all that it is, you're okay if you guys just got into a fight.
Wow.
They continue to talk crazy as far as, no, you don't understand. I killed people. And once that in, I threw a cigarette at him. I said, why don't you smoke a cigarette? I'll be right back.
Now, at that time, were you frightened?
Yeah.
And you were scared?
Yes.
Were you unsure of Mr. Wilson's intentions at that point? You?
No.
What did you do at that point in time when you threw him a cigarette and told him to relax?
I told him that I needed to go pick up an employee of mine at a job down the road, and I would be back.
I would be scared. I mean, damn.
Was that just an excuse to separate yourself from Wilson?
Yes.
Is your business also equipped with video
Yes.
camera surveillance?
Yes.
Now, what did you do after you left Mr. Wilson's company and not that?
I drove to my other building, which is adjacent to 2309, 160 Hunter Boulevard. It has a concrete wall around it. And I called the police at that time when I was at the building and let them know that everything that he just came and said.
Judge, let the record reflect on Shepard's counsel some previous remark that states two.
Okay.
Look at him over there. Now, wait a minute. The exact reason I made that emoji of the unicorn throwing up was for when it does zoom in on him, because he grosses me out so bad. And I was thinking last night, maybe I shouldn't take what I hear from the calls and the emails and what I know and just think of it as if I didn't know anything. And you have to think innocent until proven guilty. But then I thought, well, no, because he confessed multiple times to different people, including police, including his dad, including this guy, including Mila, so I don't really, it's hard to look at him in that innocent until proven guilty mindset.
Permission to approach it.
You may.
Looking at some previous remark, states exhibit number 2. I should take a look at that item. So you recognize that?
Yes.
How do you recognize?
This is my business.
That photograph fairly and accurately depict your business back on 7th October 2019?
Yes, it does.
I'll state this exhibit number 2 in evidence, Judge.
No.
Permission to publish, Judge?
You may.
So the photograph would be taken from the road there on Hancock Bridge Parkway, and then your buildings is in back. Is that correct?
Yes, there's two buildings. There's one on the left side, and then there's another one behind the water tower. So there's two buildings on that site, and he came to the number 2 behind the water tower.
Okay. Now you indicated that you'd contacted 911. Is that correct?
Yes.
Judge, let the reflect on the defense counsel remark, states exhibit number 1. Commissioner Approach, Judge.
You may.
So John Kennedy was and marked as exhibit number 1. I asked you to take a look at that. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
How do you recognize that?
This I signed off on the 911 call.
And does that 911 call fairly and accurately depict your conversation with the 911 operator on the 7th of October of 2019?
Yes, it does.
Judge State will move Stacy number 1 into evidence at this time.
Any objection? Judge. Be admitted.
Permission to publish it?
You may.
Ooh, hold on. You can kind of hear. Wait, look, it's actually time-stamped. That is why I pinned this channel at the top. They've clipped the trial, and they've done and cut out all the breaks, and they did a great job. If anybody wants to rewatch, B Crumbs actually sent it to me, and thank you for that. I appreciate it so much. But let's rewind just a second. But Skadoosh says, innocent until you confess your guilt like a dumbass. I'm with you. Right. And then I saw one of you guys commented at about his tattoos. Don't forget, we learned yesterday, right before the trial started, he was asking for makeup and different stuff to cover them up. So it's like, dude, you knowingly did them. You got them. You're like, it's not like somebody did it when you were asleep, unconscious, without your permission. Okay. Can't see the channel name. It's pinned at the top of the chat. It's the pinned comment. I linked their, I think the first video or maybe the playlist, but at the end of the live, I'm going to put their playlist in the chat. I watched this clip on Law and Crime. There were a lot of hot mic moments during this witness. Wow. Okay. Let's hear this again. I know I could make out a few words, but not like I couldn't make out anything that too much. Let me know if you guys can.
You may.
What is your emergency? I have a very unstable man that I just wanted at my office, 2309 Hancock Bridge Parkway.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I did that. Hold on one second, you guys. This, I couldn't make out anything though. Could you? I heard like yeah, let me know what you guys heard. I think someone said he told him that he didn't have any blood on him. Okay, I got it right back where we were at, but wait 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, you guys. I'm sure people have I did actually just turn up. So I have a volume booster and I don't know that it makes that much of a difference. I just tried to use it the second time to make it a little bit louder. But I still couldn't make anything out, but I'm sure there are people who have clipped that and done it.
He's tattoos, he's shirtless, he's very skilled people, and he just hurt a girl, 2309 Hancock Bridge Parkway. Okay. What is the phone number you're calling from? 239-313-8164. Okay, what is your name? Josh. You know? Lukitch. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. The gentleman's name is Wade something. I have no idea. I went back to my office, my brother's business there, and he was there. He was just a cordial friend of a friend associate. He just did something bad, I guess. They're running from somebody, but I need to get him out of my place. He can start all these crazy things, from somebody and have a stolen car there. So very odd. Very odd. All right, one more line for this information. Okay.
Wow. You got to think this is traumatic for every single person that takes the stand. It would be like I put myself in their position. I can't imagine. And you can see it on his face way more. And this always bothers me with many trials I've watched. Letitia, Leilani, the people testifying seem to be more bothered and care more than the defendant when it's usually a parent or a friend, or even if you're not, are you not bothered by something so cruel and horrific?
Yes, one moment there. Okay, there was an incident at Legacy, or across the street downtown at Legacy Harbor this morning. Okay, all right, one moment. I was called you. have a call for the house. I just have two questions as well for the time response. 2 moments. All right, thank you. Okay, what was the mother mentioned? Yeah, he said he stabbed somebody, I guess. Do you know what, can you describe the weapon to me? I have no idea what that. I usually, he was in my shop. I just left on where I was walking. I was basically sat there. He won't leave. Driving a little black Nissan car. There's a business right next to it called Last Towing. He's inside of a blue warehouse.
It's pretty hard to make out exactly what they're saying. We're just going to keep listening, though. I want to say thank you to Coffee and Skeletons for becoming a member. I appreciate that so much. And yeah, I added some new emojis last night for members for the trial specifically. But if you have something like you think would be a cool emoji, feel free to give me any ideas or whatever. I'd be happy to do it.
Okay. Okay, I need to get the person's description. If you like that, there's Hispanic. He's white, about 6'2". He has tattoos, left arm, full sleeve tattoos on his chest. He's not wearing a shirt right now. Not wearing a shirt? Not wearing a shirt right now. What color pants? I think he was wearing jeans. How old is he? About how old is he? I would say 25, 26. And you said his name was Wade? Wade, yeah, I don't know his last name, but I know his name's Wade. How did he arrive? In a black car, in a black little four-door car, Nissan car. He was already there as I pulled into my shop. It was a surprising need, not a schedule. Are you anyone else in danger right now? I'm sure everybody is around him right now.
You guys, it's not just you. The 911 call is just really bad. You can't make it out. Now, I'm sure that after the trial, different media places requested it and were able to get the 911 call and put it out with better quality. But there's not much left to it, and maybe we can circle back to it. As a matter of fact, I'll make a note of it. We can circle back to it and hear it in better quality if you guys want. But we'll just keep playing through and kind of chat through and watch their facial expressions. Like, look at his face versus look at Wade. Oh my God. And also his tattoos make him like always look like he's smirking. It's infuriating to watch. Barbara says, is it possible that he is not guilty? Well, I tell you what, we will learn together. You know, you can make up your mind together. We're going to be here and hear all of the evidence. So, yeah, we can kind of discuss what you guys think after we hear the evidence. I don't think so. I think he's guilty, but I haven't watched the trial to be fair. But I mean, he's confessed it multiple times, like I said. And I don't know anything about the forensics. Okay, let's hear what they're saying here.
Lukitch, you also indicated that your business has video surveillance. Is that correct?
I kind of am walking in under the thought that he's certainly definitely guilty. And I know that's not necessarily like how our justice system works. It's innocent until proven guilty, but just since we're watching, like we already know a lot of what we do know. I don't know. That's just where I'm at. But hey, you guys feel however you feel.
Yes.
Number 3. Permission to approach.
Yeah.
I'm handing you with some previous market states exhibit number 3. So you take a look at that item. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize that?
This is the video footage I signed off on.
Okay, does that video footage fairly and accurately depict the video of Mr. Wilson arriving at your place of business on the 7th of October of 2019?
Yes, it does.
At this time, Judge, the state of New States is in number 3 in evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Be admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
You may.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me move this comment. Putting video footage up. I like to see that. Like, I want to see. Ooh, W, good idea. Here, I'll write that down. Thank you. That could work for several defendants that we talk about over here, actually. Stephen Sternsby.
Mr. Lukitch, when you had made that 911 call, you indicated that you went to a property behind the Mateo's graphic. Is that correct?
Yes.
Where did you go after you made that 911 call?
I stayed at 160 Hunter Boulevard until the officers called me back over to 2309 Hancock because they could not find him in the building. So I walked through the building with them to kind of show them some nooks and crannies that he could have been. And from there on throughout the day into the later hours, I was at Hancock with the officers.
And Mr. Wilson was nowhere to be found. Is that correct?
No.
Did you know where he went?
No.
Okay. Do you see Mr. Wilson here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Would you please point him out and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's right there in the blue jacket.
Judge, let the record reflect Mr. Lukitch is identified Mr. Wilson.
Okay.
And did everything you testified to occur here in Lee County, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, Judge. I have no further questions at this time.
Mr. Lukitch, we saw the video. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. We saw the video of him getting out of a car. He went in through a door. Is that the entrance to your business?
To that building business, yeah.
Or are there multiple entrances?
There's multiple entrances, yeah.
You described him as, let me ask you something. How well did you know Mr. Wilson?
I didn't know him very well.
There we go. I saw some of you guys asking that, and I heard him be asked this like in one of the first questions, but I couldn't remember exactly what he said. So, yeah, let's keep listening to his cross. And then we're going to get into our next witness, which looks to be Officer Canzalone. So
He was an employee at a friend of mine, marina in Conch Key, and
Down in the Keys.
down at the Keys. And I've only met him maybe a handful of times before that.
Let me ask you, if you were acquaintances, why would he go to you to get?
Wade's got the permanent grin. I'm going to try not to pause too much, and annoy you guys with it, but I just have to say, Wade has the permanent smirk grin with his tattoos and just his face and attitude, and this dude has a permanent frown. His facial expression kind of caught me off guard. I'm sorry.
A tipney for a ticket or a plane?
I have no idea.
You said that there were just the two of them. Wasn't there a third employee in the building?
No.
You said he was frantic. Describe that more.
He was pacing around,
Kind of manic?
getting back and forth in close to my person, and needing a ticket, any kind of ticket, bus ticket, money, or anything. And I told him I couldn't help it.
Okay. And did he lash at you when you said you couldn't help him?
No.
You said he was talking crazy. What did you mean?
Crazy as far as, no, you don't understand, Josh. I killed people last night.
Did he say he stabbed those people?
I don't recall.
Did he ever work for you?
No.
During the 911 call, there was no mention of him being covered in blood. Did you leave that out?
I don't remember
But the 911 call would be the best.
to refer.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. Controllers with either of those videos?
I wouldn't. I don't know if the audio is with it. No.
This is your video system, security system, right?
Right.
You don't know if it records sound?
No, I don't.
How long have you been in that location?
That video system was actually taken from a tenant's video system, wanted dead or alive, on my property.
I'm sorry, explain that again?
The tenant
Yeah.
from the building that we were renting to, it was wanted dead or alive. It was in 911.
All right. That was the towing company.
Right.
All right. Did Mr. Wilson live at your condominium?
No, he did not live there.
Did he visit?
He has maybe been there once or twice before that.
And what, he stayed maybe a week or 2 weeks? Or
Not at property, no.
Okay, so again, I do have to pause for fair use. I'm going to try to let it run, though, as long as possible, because I know that can be frustrating. I did pin in the chat the channel where I'm playing it from. They have an excellent playlist. They cut out all the breaks. It's really great. But okay, so it's interesting because the chat is kind of split. I'm seeing he's a great witness. He's not a great witness. I will say, just from the other trials I've watched, I've seen some pretty bad witnesses. I don't like I don't remember stuff either. But, over time, and it was 5 years in between, well, almost 5 years. In a couple months, it would have been 5 years from the time that the murders occurred to the time of the trial. So I suppose people can be a little fuzzy. And we'll see, maybe the prosecution will address that when if they ask him any questions, Okay, let's keep going. On the redirect, sorry, that's the word I was looking for. When they get on the redirect, the prosecution will get to ask, a couple questions, and maybe they'll address that. Okay, let's keep going.
nothing further, Judge.
All right. Can you redirect?
Briefly, Judge.
Mr. Lukitch, when you described Mr. Wilson talking crazy, was that because of what he was telling you, how he was telling it to you?
It's pretty crazy what he was telling me.
Thank you. No further questions.
No
All right.
No recross.
Sir.
So no
We call your
redirect.
next witness.
Yes, Judge. So we call Officer Chris Canzalone.
Chris Hanslett.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen jury by telling them your name?
Officer Christopher Canzalone,
Sir, where do you work?
April Police Department,
And how long have you worked there?
6 years.
And in what capacity, sir?
I'm currently a school resource officer.
Are you a school resource officer back on the 7th of October of 2019?
I was not. I was on road patrol in Zone 1.
And what does that mean?
That's just a little precinct that I worked in at the time, which
And
is
what,
where the incident occurred.
okay, and what incident are you referring to, sir?
The Mateo graphic at 2309 Hancock.
And did you have an occasion to go to Mateo Graphics there at 2309 Hancock Bridge Parkway?
Yes, sir.
What was the reason for you to go to that location?
I was the primary officer, and I responded after Josh had called 911. I went there to make contact with Josh.
And did you ultimately make contact with Mr. Lukitch on the date and time?
Yes, I did.
And happened when you made contact with him?
I spoke to Josh. He told me that
Objection, hearsay.
Sustain.
After you had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Lukitch, what did you do in response to the information that you received from Mr. Lukitch?
I went to the blue building that was on the property to search for Wade Wilson.
And what can you describe for ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you went about doing that?
So the basic setup, it was a tow yard. So we had
So it seems like they have the guy he ran up to at Mateo's Graphics. He first witness. Now they're the officer that responded when he made that 911 call. Because different trials, prosecutors will go in weird orders sometimes, and you never know kind of if there's a method to the madness or not. So I like to follow that too. Okay, let's keep listening.
We had a bunch of cars in the parking lot. There is a blue building full of cars as well. Myself and a canine officer, Officer Reese, had gone into the building and the entire area and searched the inside of all of the vehicles at the tow yard.
And did you ultimately direct your attention to the inside of the buildings as well?
That's correct.
And when you say you went into the buildings, was anyone directing you to where all the various locations would be, or any type of hidden locations or anything else?
We searched the building in its entirety.
Did you also search the exterior of the buildings?
That's correct. We searched the perimeter.
And during the course of your search, did you locate anyone?
We did not.
So you didn't locate an individual by the name of Wade Wilson?
No, sir.
What did you do after you went ahead and searched the buildings on that property?
At that point, we had called for a detective. The vehicle that Wade Wilson had arrived in, we appeared to have blood on it, and there was front end damage. When we ran the license plate, it came back to Christine Melton. So we knew the vehicle did not belong to Josh. We tried to get a hold of Christine Melton. It was unsuccessful.
After you tried to contact with Ms. Christine Melton, what did you do next?
We sent officers down to Christine's house to locate her.
And was that you who was doing that?
I was not. I stayed at the 2309 Cock address.
So when you looked at her vehicle, you indicated that you noticed something inside.
Correct. There was blood on the passenger door.
So what did you do in response when you saw blood on the interior of that vehicle?
We ended up breaking the officer Amato broke the driver's side window of the vehicle. Because of us not being able to get in contact with the registered owner, we broke the window and popped the trunk, and we checked the trunk to make sure there's nobody inside.
Why would you break the window?
Because Wade Wilson had made phone calls from Christine Melton's cell phone, which we knew at the time, and we weren't able to locate her.
Officer Animal, I'm sure you just approved some marks in the 5, 5A, 5B, 5C, 5E, and 5F. As you take a look at those items, you recognize those.
Yes, this is the vehicle.
That's one of the same vehicle that you that had its window punched out because you saw blood on the inside?
Correct.
And do those photographs fairly and accurately depict the vehicle back on the 7th of October of 2019?
Yes, sir.
As you recall? Judge, at this time, the state will move state number 5, 5A, 5C, 5E, and 5F into evidence.
Any objections?
None, Judge.
All right, be admitted.
Commissioner Publisher.
You may.
Is that the black Nissan Versa that you had to push the window out?
5 what?
Yes, I agree.
It's just states it's number 5.
Is it A, B?
It's 5. We have 5A, 5B,
Okay.
5C, E,
Okay,
5F.
so you
Curious,
You're moving
Kristine.
to
Thank you so
have
much.
exhibit 5, I'll admit it.
So sweet.
Judge.
Thank you.
Any objection?
And thank you, Lori,
Is
for
this
being a
5?
member
Yes.
so long, almost 2 years. Thank you.
Any
No
objection?
objection.
All right, be admitted.
Officer Anzalone, on 2, states number 5. It's the vehicle that you had encountered on the 7th of October, 2019, that you had to punch the window out.
Yes, sir.
5A, that's the back of the vehicle.
That's correct.
And you indicated that you also searched the trunk. Is that correct? And there wasn't anything that,
There was some beach equipment. I believe there was a beach chair in there.
there was no body, correct?
Body.
5B, does that reflect the window that had been broken out on the driver's side of the vehicle?
Yes.
And 5C, is that the interior of the aftermath of punching out that particular vehicle with the window shards on the inside on the driver's seat?
Yes.
And as we're looking here at 5E, specifically right in this area here, which is a third away from the top on the passenger door.
You guys, I have to take the banner off with his name for a few minutes so we can see the photos.
And then on the right side of the photograph, are those the blood stains that you had observed?
Yes.
So hard to see.
And then 5F, near the belt buckle itself, little mark that's located directly to the left and down on the black portion of plastic, which supports the frame.
Okay, I see that one. If you look here, if you see my mouse.
Is that the blood stains that you were referring to?
That is correct.
And when you saw those stains, those gave you cause for concern,
Absolutely.
and you could observe those stains from the exterior of the vehicle.
Correct.
And that was the reason for why you went ahead and broke out the window.
Yes.
You indicated that you had gone ahead and conducted a record search for the registered owner of this vehicle,
That's correct.
and you determined it to be Miss Melton.
Yes.
What did you do with that information after you obtained it?
We passed it on to the South District Sergeant and spoke to our major crimes and gave them the information.
Do you know what they did with
I
it?
do have to pause for commentary, in which I know a lot of people like it, but we have this guy who runs into a graphic shop covered in blood, no shirt, no shoes, right? Acting kind of frantic. Then they find the car with blood all in it. You know, I just, like I said, I put myself in their shoes, like whoever's testifying. It's a tough job. It really must be a tough job.
They sent officers to her address and they held it as a potential crime scene. So they were able to make entry.
I'm sorry, what was the last
Until
one?
they were able to make entry into the home.
Were you
Oh,
part of
you
that entry
smart.
team?
I was not.
After you had gone ahead and broken out this window and learned that there was no one on the inside of this
Look at him.
vehicle, what was your next duty at that point in time?
So at that point, we held the car as a crime scene and we waited for a tow truck to arrive to transport the vehicle back to the Cape Coral Police Department for processing.
And was that the extent of your involvement in this case?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have no
Very
further questions
good.
for this witness, Judge.
What time?
Okay, so Skadoosh says, so wait, I thought he strangled them. Where's the blood from? He got out after running over Ruiz, or he stabbed them? Genuine question. I think it's from Mila, right? Because in between, he punches her, and they made a point to say, and her blood goes everywhere. But I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait for forensics for sure to know, and to know every one of their injuries. But I've heard Flocka too. I don't know exactly what it is either, Sherry Lee. Sherry says, what is Flocka? Because people speculate he could have been on that. Others say, I read a comment of one of you guys that said, I think he was just on meth and adrenaline, a true psychopath. And you know what? I just looking at his background yesterday, like I could see that, and I could see if you were, thank you, Luna, that the drugs and stuff would make it a lot worse. But it's not like he doesn't have a history of this.
Did you get called or dispatched?
I was dispatched at 1:37 in the afternoon.
What time did you arrive?
I do not recall.
And was it an hour later?
No, it would have been shortly after I received the
Were
call.
there other officers there before you?
There was a sergeant and another road officer that was there.
When was did you maintain contact of the car, the vehicle?
Yes.
When did that get towed?
I don't know the exact time off the top of my head. It was later on in the afternoon.
Was it a couple hours later? I mean,
That's correct.
all right. From your observations, were you able to tell when that alleged blood was placed there, got there?
I couldn't tell you how long it was there for.
Did you touch it?
I did not.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right.
Nothing further from the state judge.
All right, you
We
may
ask
step down.
excuse.
No redirect.
Any objection? To be excused.
Now we have someone named Detective Bell taking the stand.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Please introduce yourself to ladies and gentlemen of the jury by telling them your name
Patricia Bell,
and where do you work
the Cape Coral Police Department.
and what do you do for the Cape Coral Police Department?
I am a detective in the Major Crimes Unit.
And how long have you been a detective for the Major Crimes Unit?
16, 17 years.
Were you working as a major crimes detective back on the 7th of October of 2019?
Yes, I was.
Did you become involved in the investigation of Miss Christine Melton?
Yes, I did.
And how'd you come about being a detective in that particular case?
I was the on-call detective for that day. Received a telephone call from Sergeant Gleason, who was on the scene at Mateo Graphics. And he notified me of what was going on up there regarding a subject. According to the complaining party, a subject showed up in a black Nissan Versa. He said that that person was known him.
Hearsay.
It's the same.
After he provided information to you, what did you do with that information?
He provided information to me. Then I provided information to other detectives within the unit to facilitate the investigation. I asked another detective at the time, Detective Nick Malone, to run the person's name, who happened to be Christine Melton, into what's called NCIC FCIC, to see if we could gain some emergent contact information for her.
And ultimately, were you able to obtain that emergency contact information for Ms. Melton?
Yes, we did.
And when you received that information for the emergency contact, what did you do with that information?
Detective Malone contacted the emergency contact, who put us in touch with another person who was the name of Stephanie Johnson, who was out with Christine Melton the night before, into the early morning hours leading into this date that we are.
So in essence, you essentially went ahead and facilitated the coordination of that information to provide around to road patrol officers as well as other detectives. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And did you also
Okay, so I
facilitate?
just want to pause for a second because I was starting a couple comments along the way. Oh, Sunday Doodles, thank you for being a member for 12 months. I hate to interrupt, but yay, a whole year. Thank you. Okay, Lori says, who cares if drugs or alcohol? He's guilty either way. Drugs and alcohol can't give you an excuse to make you not guilty. Either way, he's guilty. And then Tony says, drugs and or mental illnesses get used as excuses too often in some cases. So for me, I'm totally with you. I don't care if they're on drugs, if they're mentally ill. This is just my stance, and you guys can feel however you feel. I welcome all opinions, for real. But for me, personally, even if it's mental illness or something like that, the public still needs to be protected from you. And I think that you should serve time, and a lot of it. I don't think you should be cut a break. Now, I do like to understand the why behind some of these crimes we talk about. So I think it's good to talk about, what were they on drugs? Were they having a mental break? Like, not to give excuses. It doesn't give an excuse, but I don't know. For me, I guess it's just part of the way my brain works when I'm like listening to true crime. I like to try to figure out why or how, or get inside everyone's head and look at everyone's viewpoint, the witnesses, the defendant, everyone. Just like with Letitia Stalk, and I know a lot of you guys came from Melissa's, her and I both, and another friend of mine named Jen, and all of us in the chat have been researching Letitia for a long time. And it's because her actions are so bizarre that you can't help but try to understand what's going on. Where did this come from? Like, and also I think it's somewhat preventative to be able to notice those things in people. But yeah, that's just kind of the way my brain works to talk about those things. I don't think that it excuses it at all whatsoever by any means. And I just want to make that totally clear. Remy says, this isn't Wade's first crime against women. Just happens these were the first fatalities. And yes, you're right. I was shocked yesterday listening to Kelly's story, because it was so similar. I mean, my God. And then, we have Mila, I believe, if I remember correctly, from listening to Melissa and Jones and talk about it, I don't know, that he was arrested right before the murders, for like a few days before, and Mila dropped the charges or something like that. I still don't understand, Letitia. I know, Harley Quinn. Kelly's story is infuriating. It's bullshit. Lena says, I'm Romanian. I have family but I live in the U.S. No, not every crazy person is a killer, but every killer is pretty much a crazy person. It's a crazy thing to do. Right. Like, just like Chris Watts. How do you put your kids, how do you dispose of your kids the way he did, in an oil tank? You can't help but try to wonder what he was thinking, It's not fair to everyone else surrounding an addict. They're numb to life, then use it as an excuse for bad behavior. The people who love them, even strangers, are the ones who suffer their consequences. You're right, Lisa. I've been on both sides, first an addict and then a loved one of an addict. And I truly believe, even though being an addiction is so hard, it's a struggle and a journey, especially to get out of it, right? But it's worse for the family, because the addict is unaware of a lot of the problems. But anyway, not to get too far off base, let's keep listening. I just wanted to point out a couple things.
Say the determination of who that black Nissan Verso belonged to?
Yes, patrol had run the tag on scene, and the tag returned to Kristine Melton at 4838 Tudor Drive in Cape Coral.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Any questions?
Detective, did you interview a Jayson Shepard?
Yes, sir, I did.
Well, that was quick.
And did he provide you with a cell phone belonging to Mr. Wilson?
Yes, he provided a cell phone that belonged to Mr. Wilson.
Whoever placed that into evidence?
I'm sure the phone was into evidence. Yes, sir.
That's not what I asked you. I said, did you place it into evidence?
I don't recall, sir.
What did you do with it?
Oh,
I don't recall if I collected said phone or if another detective on scene collected the phone. It may have been collected by forensics.
Did you go through the phone?
It was forensically examined, I believe, sir. Yes.
But did you go through it first?
No, sir.
No, you didn't go in and scroll through anything?
Sir.
Nothing further, Judge.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, you may step down.
Thank you.
Wow.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Any objection?
So just a minute. Let's go on to our third one. Now we're going to hear from Stephanie. So, this is going to be interesting and tough, I'm sure. Let's see. Defense objects, state makes proffer. All right, this is going to be interesting. I don't know what that's about. Apparently there's a proffer that comes up. So remember, Stephanie was Kristine's friend. They were best friends, actually. And I think they came from, was it Illinois together? Stephanie Johnson. She went out with Kristine, Wade, and Jayson that night. So let me get our banner off. Let's hear what she has to say.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
You may.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please tell the jurors your name.
Stephanie Sailors,
What was your name back in 2019?
Stephanie Johnson.
Have you since gotten married?
Yes.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
Do you know someone by the name of Kristine Mountain?
Yes. Christine and I have been friends since we were in high school.
Where did the two of you meet?
In Illinois, where we grew up.
When did you meet?
When we were about 15 years old, and we became friends through her cousins, who I'm also very close with. And we were inseparable, moved across the country together, lived together all through our 20s, and then ended up moving to Florida to be close to all of our family down here.
Where else did you live across the country with Kristine?
We lived in Colorado together as well.
Then did you both end up here in Cape Coral, Florida?
Yes.
Back in October of 2019, were you working?
Yes, Christine and I both worked at Duffy's in Cape Coral.
What type of employer is Duffy's?
It was a restaurant and bar, and we both waited tables there.
Was Kristine dating anyone back in October of 2019?
No, Christine was not dating anybody.
Were you dating anyone?
No, I was not.
Where did Kristine live at the time?
Christine lived in Cape Coral off of Tudor Drive.
What type of home did she live in?
It was a duplex apartment.
Did she live with anyone?
She lived alone.
Did she have any pets?
She did have one cat.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
I like
For
your
the
name,
record,
not
I've shown
engaged
that
to Wade.
the previously marked as States Exhibits 4 and 10A.
I think this is going to be tough.
Photos and ask if you'll take a look and tell me if you recognize them. Starting with States Exhibit 4, what do you recognize this exhibit to be?
That's Christine.
Is that how she looked back on October 6th and 7th of 2019?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as States Exhibit 10A. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, that is the apartment that Christine lived in.
Does that fairly and accurately show the apartment that she lived in back in October of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, state would move 4 and 10A into evidence.
Any objection? Be admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Is that Kristine?
Yes.
I'm showing you her duplex where she lived at the time. Which door is hers?
The white door on the left. So there's a window and then the door right next to it to the right.
Okay, so the door to the right of the window is her door, or the door to the left of the window?
To the left of the window.
Of
So
the middle window?
yeah, the far left door.
Thank you. I want to take you back to October 6th of 2019. Did you see Christine on that day?
Yes, Christine and I had planned to meet up later that night and go out drinking at the Buddha bar in Fort Myers.
Did you ever been to the Buddha bar?
I had not been there before.
Where is the Buddha located?
It's located off of McGregor and I think College Parkway.
that in Lee County, Florida.
I cannot imagine the guilt she must have, because remember, we learned in the opening statements early that morning she left. She had to work, she had a child to get to school and all the things. And she saw no red flags. She never would have dreamed that that would have been the last time she saw her best friend.
Florida.
Yes.
How did the two of you get to the Buddha?
So I met Kristine at her apartment that night, and we took an Uber from her apartment to the Buddha.
About what time did you Uber over to the Buddha?
Around 10:30.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes. Yes.
For the record, I'm showing defense counsel what's been previously marked as
Jeannie?
Exhibit 7.
I don't see you, but I see Bikram saying hi to you.
I'm showing you state's Exhibit 7. Will you take a look at it and tell me if you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, this is the Buddha in Fort Myers.
And is the bar behind the big statue of the Buddha?
Yes, that's the main entrance to the bar.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move 7 into evidence.
Any objection? Be admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Do you have any specific reason the two of you chose the Buddha on that night?
There was live music there that night, so we wanted to go see a band play.
When you got there, what was just sort of the general environment of the bar?
It wasn't overly crowded. There was, a decent amount of people there that night, dancing, drinking, nothing out of the ordinary from a typical bar.
Was there a band playing?
Yes.
Now, were you friendly and did you talk to other people that were there?
Yeah, we socialized quite a bit. There's a couple of different bars in the main bar, and we were down at one bar, we danced, we got drinks at other bars, we talked to the people that were there. Pretty standard going out night.
Now, obviously you're drinking and listening to music this entire time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had been drinking pretty heavily that night.
And is that why you chose to get an Uber?
Yes, yeah, we both knew we were drinking, so we didn't want to be driving at all.
Now, while you were there, did someone approach you?
Yeah, towards the end of the night, as we were walking up to the upstairs bar, somebody jumped out in front of me, kind of just like took my attention and said, "Hey, who's your friend?" And gestured towards Kristine. He seemed friendly and introduced himself, and I grabbed Kristine and said, "Hey, this guy wants to meet you."
What's his demeanor?
Friendly, charming.
Is there any red flags that popped up when you were talking to him?
No.
Friendly and charming. Oh my God.
How did he introduce himself to
You
you?
guys.
At that point, he introduced himself as JR.
Did you see JR sitting in the courtroom today? Would you point to him and identify an article of clothing that he's wearing?
Right there in a bright blue suit.
His name is Wade Stephen Wilson, right? Who the hell is JR?
The record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
Okay.
Now, has his appearance changed since the time that you met him?
Yes, he has a lot more tattoos on his face. He did not have any facial tattoos
May
the
I
night
approach
we
a
met
witness?
him.
You may.
Did you take a look at State's Exhibit number 39 and tell me if you recognize that exhibit?
Yes,
What do you recognize it to be?
JR, the person who introduced himself to us that night.
And is he the same person there in court today?
Yes, ma'am.
And does this fairly and accurately represent how he looked back on October 6th of 2018?
Exactly.
And the state would move 39 into evidence?
It'll be
Okay,
admitted.
so apparently Tess says he was named after his birth dad originally. So Junior, aka JR. Okay, you guys, thank you. Junior, JR for Junior. His bio dad went by the name of Junior at one point, and the first one I saw was Heather's. His alias, his dad said, thank you guys. Okay.
Question of
You may.
Wow, look, you guys.
Now, after you introduced him to Kristine, what happened next?
Christine and I and JR and another man, Jayson, who we were introduced to by JR, talked at the bar, mingled,
So that was him. Like, as you guys could see, and you can rewind a bit. I don't want to rewind I should have paused there, but those are the tattoos he had before.
Christine and JR seemed to be interested in each other. Me and Christine had commented on how he had dimples, and one of the guys she had been talking to earlier in the night only had one dimple, and he had two dimples. And, she definitely was attracted to him, and he seemed attracted to her, and they were friendly and getting to know each other.
Now, you mentioned that JR introduced you to someone by the name of Jayson.
Yes. So there was another man that he was with at the bar named Jayson. And I was under the impression that they were there together as friends, just like me and Kristine had been.
At some point, did you take your talking and socializing outside of the bar?
Yeah. So that was at the end of the night and the bar was closing. So they were kind of shuffling everybody out the door. Kristine and I went outside, and we're still continuing to socialize with JR and Jayson until, it was decided to leave. And me and Kristine had came in an Uber, so we followed Jayson and JR to their car. JR had tossed the keys over to Jayson, and we were going to go after party. I didn't know at that point if we were going back to Kristine's house or where we were headed from there, but we were going together.
Now, when you went into the parking lot, everybody's talking. Again, describe the mood.
Happy. Everybody was cheerful, intoxicated, but, there wasn't anything out of the ordinary or scary by any means, just typical end of the bar night.
Now, is this around 2 a.m. that the bar's closing and
Yes.
kicking everybody out?
Mm-hmm.
Now-
So everything was closing at that point.
Again, as far as JR's concerned, does he exhibit any kind of anger or any kind of red flags?
No, not at all.
And in fact, you and Kristine thought he was charming.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned that JR threw the keys over to Jayson.
Mhm.
What type of car was it that you got in?
It was a Dodge Hellcat, I think it's called.
Whose car did you believe that was?
I believed it was Jason's at that point.
When you got it,
Yeah.
you believed it was Jason's car?
I don't really remember. I just know Jayson was driving at that time. So my assumption was that it was his car.
Where did everybody sit in the car?
Jayson sat in the front seat. Kristine sat in the in the passenger seat. And then me and JR were in the back seat.
Oh, that's an interesting way to seating arrangement. But yeah, so he hands his friend the keys because he can't drive a stick. And we know that where did we hear that he was stalling out? Was it in the opening statements? I can't remember.
Now, where did you end up going?
We drove not very far. It was only a couple of turns, maybe less than 10 minutes in the car, but we ended up at Jason's house.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
For the record, I'm showing defense counsel has been previously marked as
Until Jason's mommy said no. Nobody can be here anymore. Because Jayson lives with his mama. Thank you, Amber. Amber says yes, opening statement.
I'm showing you states exhibits number 8 and 9. Will you please take a look at those exhibits and tell me if you recognize them?
This is the car that we left the Buddha in.
States exhibit number 8. Does that fairly and accurately represent the way the car appeared when you got in it that night?
Yes.
Showing you states exhibit number 9. What does states exhibit number 9 show?
This is Jason's house.
Is this the house where you went to after the bar closed?
Yes, I remember that star on the house.
Your Honor, at this time, the state will move 8 and 9 into evidence.
Objection.
From permission to publish?
You may.
You just told the jurors this is the Hellcat that you all got in,
Yes, ma'am.
and then State's Exhibit number 9. That's Jayson's house.
Yes.
When you arrived at Jayson's home, was anyone else present?
Yeah, his mom was home. So
Told you.
when we walked in the front door, his mom was awake and on the couch and not very happy that he was bringing people home. We tried to make small talk and, kind of ease the situation. But we just ended up going to Jayson's bedroom, which was down the hall from there.
Now, when you got back into Jayson's bedroom, what happened with Kristine and JR?
So pretty quickly after getting to Jayson's house, Kristine and JR started having sex.
And when they started having sex, what did you and Jayson do?
Jayson had a bedroom that led to the outside. So Jayson and I hung out outside most of the time, only to, really go in to use the bathroom maybe. Kristine and JR were inside for a while. They came outside and mingled a little bit with us and went back into the bedroom.
You mentioned that they started out having sex. Did their sexual encounters appear to be consensual?
Yes.
So there was nothing that, again, at this point, that caused any red flags?
No.
Now, when you and Jayson were
Oh, look at
outside,
him.
what were the
Oh my
two of
God.
you doing?
We were drinking, smoking, talking. He had a trampoline out there, so we sat on the trampoline and talked for a while. Just mingling, talking.
Did the two of you have any interest in each other that night beyond just talking and friendship?
No.
So did the two of you hook up at all?
No.
Now, you mentioned that JR and Kristine would go inside the house and come back out and kind of go back and forth.
Mhm.
During these back and forth interactions, were they normal types of interactions?
Yeah.
Did they appear to be having a good time?
Yeah, they appeared to be having a good time with each other and, joyful and, nothing out of the ordinary or concerning.
Oh, about how long were you at Jayson's house?
I would say we were probably there for a couple hours, maybe 2 hours.
Wow, I'm surprised it was that long.
After about 2 hours, did you all leave?
Yes. So we were at Jayson's house and then kind of, quickly JR was saying, oh, we got to go. This guy doesn't want us here anymore. And it was kind of at that point that I realized that Jayson and JR didn't know each other for this night.
That's insane. So I thought it was, well, and maybe it was the mom because that's kind of what we heard in the opening. But wow.
The way JR was, receiving at the beginning of the night was that, they were there together. And then when we were leaving, it was, it didn't seem that way. It seemed like this guy wanted us out of his house and it was kind of quickly an exit. But when we went to the driveway, we got back into the car that we came in, which Jayson had drove at that time, but now JR was driving.
So when you are leaving Jayson's house, was it somewhat abrupt as far as
Yeah,
you
it
all
was
leaving?
quick, but it wasn't anything like he wasn't mad that we were still there or anything like that. It was just time to go.
And this night that you went out on the bar, it was a Sunday night?
Yes.
Was getting in
So
trouble
you're
with
going
his
to
mama.
town Monday
No,
morning.
Monday, everybody, I had to work. I believe Jayson had to work the next day. His mom obviously wasn't happy that we were there to begin with. So,
So the party, everything's kind of winding down for the
Mhm.
night.
yes. And we go and get in the car, and JR is trying to back the car out of the driveway, and he can't get it to go in reverse. It's just revving the engine in the driveway.
Is the car a manual or a stick shift?
It's a stick shift
Is
car.
it clear to you that he was unable to drive a stick shift?
Yes.
Oh my God. How embarrassing, dude. See what I mean? Ugh.
So what happened is you're in the driveway and he's revving the engine.
So Jayson actually had come outside because he heard the engine revving, and said, "You guys got to leave. You can't be here anymore. You're being too loud. It's almost the morning."
Yeah, Jules. So a manual is a stick shift, and in order to put it in reverse, it's just the same as switching it to any other gear, but you have to it's like you have to pull your foot off of the clutch and onto the brake in such a way, like as you're pulling it off the clutch, you slowly hit the brake. And you have to do at one point, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I can drive one, but it took me a long time to be able to drive one. My friend who has passed away now, Jennifer, insisted I learn how to drive. She had one and we practiced around her neighborhood over and over until I got the hang of it. But now I can drive one. So, but yeah.
At that point, JR had actually gotten the car into reverse and into the street. He was trying to get the car into drive and go forward, and same thing, he couldn't get the car to move. He's just revving the engine in the middle of the street. It was at that point that I got out of the car and said to Kristine, I said, "Get out of the car. Let's take an Uber. Let's get in an Uber and go home."
Right. So were you able to make contact with an Uber driver to have them come pick you up?
Yes, Kristine called the Uber.
Now, once the
Wow.
Uber driver arrived, did you get into the Uber right away?
Yes,
Right, Pam.
I got into the Uber right away. Kristine and Wade Wilson were
that was interesting. She's called him JR like this whole time. And Wade Wilson, that very formal. Hey, Mac, talking smack. Thank you for being a member for 8 months. That's sweet. I appreciate that. B Crumbs, will you do me a favor and grab Amac's link? She has a channel and she does all sorts of stuff there, but just some late night girl talks and things like that. Thank you, Amac. All right, let's keep listening.
looking for his cell phone. He couldn't find his cell phone. So they started to walk back towards Jayson's house to look for his cell phone. I don't know if they made contact with him. I was sitting in the Uber at that point with the Uber driver, and both him and I remember him saying, "Oh, they got 5 minutes or I'm leaving." And, you know, both of us were ready to go at that point.
Now, to your knowledge, did Wade Wilson, or the person that was saying that he was JR, did he ever find his phone that night?
I don't believe so.
So when he and Kristine got back in the car, where did the Uber driver take you?
The Uber took us back to Kristine's apartment.
And then that's 10A, Kristine's apartment.
Yes.
Now, what happened when you got back to Kristine's home?
When we got back to Kristine's home, the three of us went into her house, and I know Kristine and I had this sense of relief that we had made it home, you know, that we got home, you know, safely. And, you know, just it was winding down. I remember sitting on the couch and taking my shoes off. I remember Kristine standing in the kitchen getting something to drink. And I remember telling her, you know, I had to go home because I had to go to work the next day and take my son to school.
Now, where was your son staying that night?
He was with my mom.
And did you and your son live with your mom?
Yeah, we lived with her at the time.
Now, about what time did you leave to go home so that you could take your son to school? And go to work?
About 6 o'clock.
Now, prior to leaving, did everything seem fine?
Yeah, it did. And I remember telling Kristine, you know, I have to go home. I have to go to work. And she was like, okay. She hugged me and kissed me goodbye and said, "I'll talk to you tomorrow."
And again, when she told you goodbye and that she'd see you tomorrow, did you have any concerns for her safety?
No.
And
My God, I feel for her so much. So I think the reason why it took so long, I'm sure the fact that it was death penalty was part of it, but also it was during COVID. So maybe that's why, just a guess.
in fact, if you did, would you have left her home
To have
with
the
just her
trial.
and Wade Wilson in that house?
Not at all. And if she was concerned, Kristine would have never let me leave that house if she was scared. She would have said, "Let's get this guy out of here together."
So when you left, is it safe to say that really the night was over? The party was over.
Yeah.
It's already morning time.
Mhm.
Jealous?
You said we had this sense of relief that we had made it home. You know, we obviously were in a car with somebody who couldn't drive a car, and I know for me that was the scariest part of that night, was the being behind the wheel of a car with somebody who couldn't drive. And I know when we got back to Christine's house in that Uber, it felt like, you know, we were home safe.
And it seems that your concern was not driving while intoxicated because along the way you had gotten Ubers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, when you
Definitely,
left,
Miss W.
you said that you had to take your son to school and you also had to go to work. What
Mhm.
time did you go to work?
I had to work the morning shift at Duffy's that day. I think I was at work by 10:30 in the morning. My son starts school at 9, so I dropped him off and then went to work.
Now, you mentioned earlier that Kristine worked at Duffy's. Did she have to work a shift that day?
She was not scheduled to work that day.
Nevertheless, did you talk to her just to check in with her at some point?
Yeah, I had texted her in the early afternoon and just said, "You up?" And I did not receive a response.
All right.
My goodness. Looks like we have Jayson testifying after Stephanie as well.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
I ask you to take a look at State's Exhibit 6. Do you recognize the numbers on State's Exhibit 6?
Yeah, that's Christine's phone number.
Is that the phone number you texted her?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you State's Exhibit 5I. What is 5I?
Christine's cell phone.
Okay, and 5J?
The back of Christine's cell phone.
And is that a pop-it that's on the back of her cell phone?
Yep.
That would help
Pop
her to hold
socket.
it?
Yep.
And is this the phone that she carried that night and carried with her at all times?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would seek to move 6, 5I, and 5J into evidence.
Any objection? Be admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Showing State's Exhibit 6. That was Christine's cell phone number at the time.
Yes.
Is 630 like a Chicago or an Illinois area code?
Yeah. That's an Illinois area code.
Showing you 5I. That's the front of her cell phone.
Yes.
And then 5J, that's the back of her cell phone with the pop socket.
Yes.
Now, when she didn't immediately respond to your text, were you concerned at all?
No, at that point, I was not concerned. We had a late night. She didn't have to work.
Yes. So Allie B says, didn't Wade take her phone? Yes. Remember, we heard in the opening that he actually had to hold it up to her face to get into it before he left with it.
Sleeping.
Okay. Did you later on try to get a hold of her?
So when I left work, I had called her again. She didn't answer. And then I got in touch with Samantha, who was her cousin. Again, not concerned that I hadn't heard from her. I asked Sam, I said, have you talked to Kristine at all today? She said no. I had told her, I was out with her last night, just kind of told her about her night and what we did, and ended the conversation. Maybe a few minutes later, I'm not sure how long, I got a call from the Cape Coral Police Department.
Now, you talked to Samantha, who
My
was
goodness.
Christine's cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Was Samantha a good friend of yours?
Yeah, Samantha and I have been friends since high school as well.
And was
Val says, oh, Val, I remember from the comments from yesterday. It's strange to see the trial again, but great reminders of a lot of details I forgot. It makes me so sad. The kiosk wives should all be forced to watch this. Well, I hope that anyone who thinks that he's innocent does watch, and not necessarily with me. hell, I pinned it at the top with, you can watch there with no commentary. It's just, I like to hang out, with you guys and watch together and kind of discuss along the way. But with as far as I'm losing my train of thought, I had to look back at your comment. As far as the details that you forgot and remembering, I haven't seen it before. So it's all kind of new to me. Well, not kind of, it is all new to me. I've heard things along the way here and there, like the comment, like some of the most gruesome parts. And, but it's really nice to be able to get all of the details. And like I said, Melissa got me so interested in it. I had taken some interest in it a little bit along the way. But then watching her go through the calls and the emails and just seeing like this movement surround him, I'm like, okay, now I need to know what happened. I got to have the facts because now I'm sucked in.
Samantha, obviously she was a cousin of Kristine, but were they also very close?
Yeah. All of us have been like sisters, like best friends.
Samantha had not gone out with you the night before.
No, Samantha was not with us.
Now, did you also try to call Kristine?
I tried to call Kristine and text her that day.
When you called her, did the phone ring numerous times?
Yes.
It didn't go straight to voicemail?
I honestly, I remember it ringing and going to voicemail. I don't remember how, if it went straight to voicemail or, rang for a long time.
But either way,
I know I did not talk to anybody and nobody answered.
No one answered.
No.
Now, you mentioned that a Cape Coral detective called you. And what was the purpose of that detective's call to you that you thought at the time?
So at that time when they called, they were asking me if,
Your Honor,
Sustained.
may I give a
Yes.
object? It's not for the truth of the matter asserted, but for the effect of the listener.
Still here saying still.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you back to the jury room for a few minutes.
All right.
Okay, so
The jury is exited the courtroom. You can be seated.
Judge, I think it would be helpful if I just proffered a couple
let's see what this is about. It's got to be, this channel cut all the like breaks and irrelevant stuff out. So we're going to
questions so that I could make my argument as to how this is not going to be hearsay.
All right.
All right. So you received a call from a detective,
Melissa.
and what was the basis or what was that conversation?
the police were asking me if I knew where Kristine was or why her car would have been found in Fort Myers.
So based on these questions,
Diana,
what
yes.
did it cause you to do?
Apparently.
It caused me to start being concerned about what happened to Kristine after I left.
Okay, and then so based on your concern about what happened, what did you do?
Myself, Samantha, our other best friend and Samantha's husband all went to Kristine's apartment.
And when you got to Kristine's apartment, what did you see there?
When we got there, the caution tape was already up.
So, Your Honor, the reason for asking the
Yes,
detective is not to prove that her car was stolen, but to prove that at that point, based on our conversation, the action she took and the steps she took, which were to talk to her.
I will commonly see this when there's a hearsay objection. Sometimes they will object to the objection and say it doesn't go to the truth of the matter and try to make the same point she's making. That's pretty common.
As in Samantha, to then actually go over to that home. So based on that, the state would argue that's an exception to the hearsay rule and it should be admissible.
It's hearsay, and the relevance, there's no relevance. I mean, she can just say, based on what the officers told me, I went over to the house without relaying what the officers told me.
Judge, if you're saying what the officers told me, that's again, it's still an exception to hearsay. What the officer told her is not used for the truth of the matter asserted. So therefore it is non-hearsay because the exception is the information that he told her was used by her to then go to the house and to further try to find out where her friend Kristine was. So what the officer told her, we're not using that.
He looks like an airhead sitting there. I don't think he can even comprehend the words. I'm serious. He's just like, I don't know. I just don't think he can comprehend it. Lily, thank you so much. Lily says, makes you wonder which part of the trial made all these thirst bucket reach out to him and which part sounds like he didn't do it. Yeah, I know. I think they must have not watched. In my opinion, a lot of people scroll TikTok or shorts or whatever. They're not interested in sitting around and putting that much effort into learning the details. They see this man and boom, it's all about attraction or, his looks. Also, I love your picture and thank you again. He's definitely an airhead. Look at him there. He's just like, I don't know. I just feel like I see him thinking about like the same kind of stuff that my 8-year-old thinks about or something while he's sitting there and they're discussing this.
For the truth. So therefore it's not hearsay.
They didn't watch, right, Samantha?
But the other objection was to relevance of the effect on her.
Sure. The relevance is that at this point, she realizes that she should be concerned that her friend is missing and that she goes over there. So it's highly relevant as to how this day took place and how she gets over to her missing friend's home and what she does. That's all completely relevant to this case.
Oh, Andy girl.
The charges that we have for this court.
Right. Good.
Sorry. While it may be interesting, it's not relevant to anything in this case.
Okay. All right. I'm going to sustain the objection.
Wow.
You can ask her about
Damn.
get a call from the detective. I think you could go as far as having an objection to her asking, the detective is asking questions about Miss Melton.
I felt like
Correct.
made a good argument.
And then what did you
Whatever.
do next?
If it's just based on what the detective said, ask you, what did you do?
All right, so I'll ask her, did a detective call you? And based on what he told you, did you become concerned and then go
Thank you for coming
to
back.
Kristine's home?
Any objection to that?
No.
Okay. Let's bring the jury back in.
Yours and true.
Ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Amber, you're so welcome.
Going back to, I believe we were talking about a detective making contact with you. Once you had a conversation with the detective, did you become concerned?
Yes.
What did you do?
When I received the call from the Cape Coral detective, myself, Samantha, and her husband and her other cousin all went to Kristine's apartment.
What did you see when you arrived at Kristine's apartment?
When we got there, the police were already there and they had already put caution tape up around her house.
Did you know any information at that point about where Kristine was?
No, we went from Kristine's house to her mom's house, which was right around the corner from Kristine's apartment. And we waited there until the detective came there and informed us that they found.
Sustain.
At some point, did you learn that Kristine had passed?
Yes.
And what happened once you learned that Kristine had passed?
It was devastating.
Did you stay at her mother's home?
No, I went straight from her mother's home to the Cape Coral Police Department in Gateway Haven.
Oh my goodness.
Now,
you guys.
when you went to Kristine's home and you found yellow crime scene tape around her property, did you see her car sitting and driving?
No, and in fact, it was pouring rain, and I remember all the detectives and police officers standing under her carport and seeing that her car was not there.
Now, when you and Kristine had gone out to the Buddha bar the night before, was her car in that carport?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Approaching you and showing you State's Exhibit 5D. Do you recognize what's in that exhibit?
Yes, those are Kristine's name tags from her Duffy's uniform.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move 5D into evidence.
Any objection?
Let me move the banner so we can see it.
You may.
You're just talking about Kristine's car not being in the carport when you went to her home, showing you Exhibit 5. Was that Kristine's car at the time of her death?
Yes.
Also showing you 5A. Is
Yes.
that the back of her car?
Yes.
It's Versa.
Yes, a Nissan Versa.
I'm showing you 5D.
Yeah, Duffy's is a bar, Amber, like a bar and restaurant. Okay, so I know he had the Nissan Versa, but does he take it from Kristine's when he takes her? Yeah, because he takes her keys and her phone and then her car, right? That's the way I understand it. But
Are those name
Thank you,
tags that she would wear to work when she waited tables at Duffy's?
Yes.
Now, you mentioned giving a statement to law enforcement. Did you detail everything to them about the night before and the events that took place at the Buddha all the way until you were contacted about her death?
Yes.
Now, did Kristine have any tattoos on her leg?
Yeah, she had a tattoo in her
Lily.
calf of a Gemini symbol with some tribal music notes on the side of it.
Yeah, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I ask that you take a look first at 10E. Do you recognize this?
Yes. That's
And what does it
Kristine.
show?
That's the tattoo on Kristine's leg.
And then I'm also going to have you look quickly at 13. Do you recognize that?
Yes, it's Kristine.
And is that after she had passed?
Yes.
And a permission, first of all, the state removed 10E.
so Harley says, I remember Wade pulling away from the police in Kristine's car. That happened at Joe's Crab Shack, right? That's the way I understand it. When Mila got him to that location and he ends up like escaping somehow from them. And then Allie B, thank you. That's really sweet. Thank you so much. She says, thank God we didn't have a jury filled with Wade wives. Thank goodness they didn't fall for any of his manipulation tactics in court trying to charm them. However, listening to the evidence plus his eyes tell it all. I mean, can you imagine? Look at how many women have kind of reached out to them. It's surprising. Some of them very beautiful, successful, smart, like could have been a jury member, you know? You're so right. And thank you again.
And 13 into evidence.
To be admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Judge, I would ask that 13 be passed around to the jurors rather than display that one.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I feel so bad for her. Not only are you reliving some horrific stuff about, you know, a horrific moment that led to the murder of your best friend, which I guess it wasn't horrific for her, but the moment that led to that, you're reliving all of that and reliving the next day, finding out, you know, you're doing it with cameras in your face and the news, you know, that's a whole nother element. Yeah,
And
and
I'm
having
showing-
to see him right in front of him.
Is
Yeah.
that the tattoo on her calf?
Yes.
Oh, he didn't leave it up long. I'm not going back.
When you went and gave your statement to Cape Coral, did they show you 6 different photographs of a suspect in this case?
Yes.
May I approach?
You may.
I'm approaching you and showing you State's Exhibit 41. If you would just take a look at this exhibit and tell me if you recognize it.
Oh, yeah, that's my signature there. And these are the photos that they showed me, the lineup photos.
Now, did a detective show you the series of photographs?
Yes, he showed me all those photographs.
In the series of 6 photographs, is that correct?
Yes.
And did the detective in any way give you any idea of who you should pick or who you should identify?
No.
Did you have a fair amount of time to be able to look and see if you could ID anybody? And did you in fact ID someone?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And how were you able to do ID?
By my signature.
And then did you also
And then
put
the date, yes.
And 10/7/19, that's the day that you learned that
Wow, the
Kristine
day.
was no longer with us.
This will be
Yes.
interesting to see
And
the
did you
line.
identify photo number 4 as a person that had introduced himself to you, JR?
Yes.
At this time, the state would move 41 into evidence.
Any objection?
Objection, reapproach.
Yes.
Oh, well, may we approach? Huh.
Number 4. Who is picture number 4?
JR.
And do you see JR sitting here in court today?
Yes. He's
Please
right
wait.
over there.
Okay, so the person sitting right over there, is it in a sort of a royal
Oh my
blue
He is wearing
jacket?
a royal blue jacket and a yellow tie.
And is that person the person that you knew as JR?
Yes.
And is that the same person that's in photograph number 4?
Yes, that is the same person in photograph number 4, JR.
And at
Oh
this
my
time,
gosh,
state would move
Jessica.
41 into evidence.
No,
Why?
Be admitted.
Here, let me just see, and we'll see.
I have a moment.
Amen.
At this time, the state has no further questions and tenders the witness.
Britt. Well, I'm just saying, you're surprised, right? When you see these women, you're like, what the hell are you thinking?
Jayson, did you know him? Do you know his last name?
I do not.
Did you ever see him again after that date?
No.
She's almost done. There's a quick redirect
Come a
and
point in
recross.
time back at Miss Middleton's residence that Mr. Wilson used. He couldn't find his cell phone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he used Miss Middleton's phone with her permission.
No.
No what?
I don't remember that happening.
He used the phone, right?
Not that I saw.
You were there for what, 2 hours?
At Kristine's house? No.
How long were you at?
Kristine's house?
Yes.
When we returned the Uber, I was only at Kristine's house for maybe 15 minutes.
Oh, it was 2 hours at Jayson's house.
At Jason's house, yes, sir.
Okay. Did you and Mr. Wilson and Jayson and Miss Milton use cocaine or other drugs that evening?
Yes.
What drugs specifically?
I saw Kristine, Jayson, and Wilson using cocaine. Everybody was drinking and smoking marijuana as well.
Did you use cocaine?
I did not.
have a moment, Judge.
Amen.
Nothing further.
All right.
Brief, Your Honor.
Okay.
Brief redirect, real quick.
Could I ask you briefly about the cocaine use? How much cocaine did you see being used that night?
Very little. I would say maybe a couple of lines each.
And was that an amount that you consider like a party amount?
Yeah, it was not a large amount.
So based on that cocaine, was anybody out of control?
No.
So would you say that, again, people are buzz friendly?
Yeah, intoxicated, but everybody was, having a good time and nothing concerning.
Thank you. I have nothing further. I'd ask that she be excused.
All right. Go ahead.
Briefly.
My
Who
goodness.
supplied the cocaine?
I'm not sure.
And where was it used?
At Jason's house.
Jason's house.
Yes.
we're about to hear from Jayson, which I look forward to because apparently he didn't know Wade before. So what's that going to look like? Come on, bro. Let her go.
Obviously, once you left, you don't know if Ms. Melton and Mr. Wilson continued using cocaine
I do not.
or used anything else.
I do not.
PB&J, I was told, B. Crumbs told me that she saw that the prosecution was asked if they ever, were going to offer him a deal or whatever, and they said absolutely not. So,
Your Honor, I would ask that she excused.
All right. Any objection?
myself,
All
but
right,
that
you're excused. Thank you.
B. Crumbs saw it. Yep, here we go with Jayson.
I'm going to call your next witness.
The state calls Jayson Shepard. Good morning.
Morning.
Please state your name and spell your first name for the record.
Jayson Shepard, Jayson.
Mr. Shepard, do you recall the night of October 6th into the early morning hours of October 7th of 2019?
Yes.
What did you do on the evening of October 6th of 2019?
Went to the Buddha.
Okay. And had you been to the Buddha
Very
previously?
Yeah.
How close was the Buddha to your home?
A little more than 5 minutes away.
Okay. And
Okay.
did you go to
Let me
the Buddha
mute.
with anybody?
Yeah, a friend of mine.
What did you do when you got there?
Had some drinks, hung out, and then she left.
And did you talk to other people while you were there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
While you were there, did you meet someone?
Yep.
Who did you meet?
A dude named Junior.
Do you see Junior sitting here in court?
Yeah.
Could you please identify an article?
A
Clothing
blue
color?
suit.
All right, let the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
Okay.
And he introduced himself to you as Junior.
At the time, yeah.
Did you learn his name later on?
Yeah.
But you never learned it that night?
No.
Now, was Junior there with anyone?
Jayson, do you live with your mama still?
Who was he?
A blonde haired girl, real pretty blonde haired girl.
And did it seem that they were together?
Yep.
Now, at some point, did she leave?
Yep.
Did you ever see her again that night?
No.
Now, when Junior introduced himself to you, describe his personality.
He was cool. He was fine, though. He seemed cool.
And if he wasn't cool, gave you any kind of weird vibe?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have kept talking to him.
B. Crumbs, this is Jayson. Yep. And we only have about 10 minutes of Jayson's testimony. And then, W, I'm going to go ahead and warn you now. I'm not sure who is next, but I can see the title is Finding Kristine. And I think we are going to push it another hour and go until 7 because there's so much. We have a lot to go through in between the trial, the penalty phase, and his sentencing. It's going to take a little bit, so I want to try to get through it. But yeah, so in about 10 minutes, we're going to be to Finding Kristine, what that looked like. And I'll put another warning up on the screen and stuff when we get a little closer, but yeah.
Now, he looked different back then than he does today.
Yeah, he didn't have all this.
When you see all this,
Tattoos.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 39. Is that how
We
he looked
didn't
back
have
then
all
when he had the
this.
Buddha?
Yeah.
Now, what time did the bar close?
2.
At 2, did you all get kicked out of the Buddha?
I didn't get kicked out, but yeah, end of the night, we left. We closed it down.
And when you left, did you go out into the parking lot?
Yep.
Did you talk to anybody in the parking lot?
Oh, well, we ran into the 2 girls.
Okay.
Stephanie and Christine, I believe. Yeah.
And when you say we, who do you mean by we?
Me and Junior.
Okay. And showing you State's Exhibit 7. Is this the Buddha where you all were?
Yep.
You were in that parking lot?
Yep.
Now, at some point, you said you met 2 girls. Who were those 2 girls that you met up with in the parking lot?
Stephanie and Christine.
Had you ever met Stephanie and Christine before?
No, met them there.
And Junior, had you ever met him prior to that night?
No.
Okay, so you're all just hanging out, having a good time?
Yeah, just all ended up eating up there.
Now, at some point, do you need to get a ride back to your house?
Yeah, I Ubered there originally
And why did you Uber there?
because I was going to be drinking.
So you got a ride back, whose car did you get a ride back?
Juniors.
Showing you State's Exhibit number 8, car you took back to your house.
Yeah.
And was Junior able to drive that car?
No, he said he couldn't drive a stick shift.
Okay. Now, who went back to your house?
Me, the 2 girls, and Junior.
When you got there, who was there?
My mother.
Was she okay with you being there at first?
Yeah. Not really.
Not thrilled?
Yeah, no, it was late, early, however you want to put it.
All right. When you got
Mommy doesn't like when I have people over too late.
to your house, where did you all go?
I'm back to my bedroom.
Is your bedroom in the back of the house?
Mine's, yeah, the way it is it's in the back left part of the left side of the house.
And when you get to your back bedroom, what happens with Junior at that time?
It wasn't long at all. Him and Kristine were having sex pretty quick and getting to it, and me and Stephanie, I think, went out back.
So when you went out back, where did you go?
I had a trampoline out back, and we went out back. We just sat out there and hung out and talked for a while.
Now, you said that Kristine and Junior were having sex. Did it appear to be consensual?
Yeah. Yeah.
They were having a good time?
Yeah.
And you and Stephanie didn't want to necessarily stand around and watch?
Nope.
So you were outside?
Yeah.
All right. And were you and Stephanie interested in each other at all?
No.
So you're just talking?
Yeah.
Throughout the course of the evening, did they come outside and go back inside several times?
Yeah, once or twice, and then went back in and kept doing what they were doing.
And during any point of these interactions, did you have any concern for your safety?
Nope.
Did you have any concern for Kristine's safety?
Mm-mm.
Now, did anybody use any drugs that night?
Yeah, we did a little coke.
When you say coke, you mean cocaine?
Cocaine.
Did you provide cocaine to anybody?
No, I had my own stuff.
Did you see any other drug use besides cocaine?
Nope.
And alcohol also?
Yeah, alcohol, yeah.
No, I had my own stuff. Remy says he seems all right, which, I don't think he seems like evil like Wade or anything. He just seems like, some random dude. Just I don't know if I would call him your average dude, but maybe your average dude that hangs out at the bar. I don't know. You know what I mean? He's not evil psychopath like Mr. Wilson. What?
Now, at some point, did Stephanie and Kristine and Junior leave your house?
Yeah, it was just getting too loud, and it was time to go. I had to work the next day. It was getting too.
So party's over.
Time to go.
They're supposed to leave.
Yeah.
What happens when they leave your house?
Well, like I said earlier, he couldn't drive a stick shift, so that car's loud down my driveway, revving up 3-4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
So how did you feel about the car revving in your driveway?
Sorry. Oh my gosh, Wade, I hope you feel like such a clown while he's describing that, because you are, in my opinion, I don't want to, I'm not telling anybody else how to feel or what to think. Follow the evidence. Just give them my thoughts along the way.
Pissed.
So what'd you do?
I went outside,
What'd you do?
confronted him about it.
What happened after you confronted them?
Kind of got your car out of the driveway a little bit.
You got it out?
No, he did.
Okay. He is in Junior?
Yeah, or one of them did. I don't know. I was getting out by the time I went out there. I got in the car. I got in the car and moved it down the road just to get it away from my house.
I'm sorry, but that just cracks me up. He is still pissed about it. Look at him. He's like, I was pissed. And you can tell as his anger intensifies just talking about it. Lily, thank you again. That's so nice. Maybe Mama lives with him. I'm just saying that's true. Entirely possible. And thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, but I got to take the laughs when I can get them. Some of this stuff is dark and depressing. I know you guys know that and understand. And, like I said in the beginning in the chat about the new emojis, just be sensitive as we use them. We have to be sensitive at the times that, during the right times. But when it's moments like this, it helps you be able to digest all of the really horrific stuff, you know. So
Did you see where they went after you got the car down the road?
No, I really didn't care.
Now, did you go to work the next
sorry,
day?
I really didn't care.
And when you were at work, did detectives come and speak to you?
Yeah.
Did you know anything about?
Nope. I had no
Let us
clue.
finish
How
the
you wait
questions.
just one moment. I know it's not.
You guys, I'm not gonna rewind much, but this is a moment I just have to. Just about 20 seconds, and then I'm gonna let it play to the end of his direct, which is just like 2 more minutes, and then we'll listen to his cross.
Did you see where they went after you got the car out down the road?
No, I really didn't care.
Now, did you go to work the next day?
Yeah, I did.
And when you were at work, did detectives come and speak to you?
Yeah.
Know anything about?
Nope. I had no
Let us
clue.
finish
How
the
you wait
questions.
just one moment. I know you're nervous.
Oh my God.
But when police
It
came
would
to your
have
work,
been
did you
a-
have any idea about anything bad that had happened?
No,
Did you agree to give them your DNA imprints?
I did.
And did they also ask you to identify the person that you knew as Junior?
Yeah.
May I approach her?
Meh.
When the detectives came to your work, did you give them a statement about what you remembered from the night before in the early morning hours?
Mhm.
That's a yes?
Yes, yes.
And then did they also show you a series of 6 photographs asking you to identify
He's
the
done
person
with
that came
this.
to your house?
Yes.
Okay, and were you able to identify a person that came to your house that night?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay, and is that,
He is done with this. Really, Steph? Steph says Wade is trying to blame this guy right now. I would love to know more about that. Oh, thank you, Val. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm really seriously going to shut up and I'll pause for a minute. Let's hear the rest. Because remember, I said I was going to, yeah. Okay, let's go.
the picture number 4?
Yep.
Are those your initials and the date?
Yes, ma'am.
Now this says 10/9/19, so that would have been a couple days
Couple
later.
days afterwards, yeah.
And is this picture that you identified, do you see that person sitting here in court?
Yeah.
And is it the person with the yellow tie and blue jacket?
Yes, ma'am.
And is he the same person that identified himself, you as Junior,
Yes, ma'am.
on October 6th? Now at this time, the state would move 42 into evidence.
Be admitted.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Meh.
Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing, did you actually end up finding the defendant's cell phone in your room?
Yeah, I believe a couple days later.
And did you turn that over to the detectives?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Bellis, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And welcome to the new members. Hopefully you can use the emojis. No, don't stop,
Afternoon,
Jessica.
sir.
I
Afternoon.
love all of y'all's comments. Okay, here we go for cross.
You said that when you first met with Mr. Wilson, he was with a pretty blonde girl.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now that blonde girl was not Kristine. No.
Right.
Okay. You said you had your own stash cocaine?
Yep.
Did everyone use it?
Known for me.
Okay. What was everybody else using?
Whatever they wanted. I don't know.
You know where they got that cocaine
Hey,
from?
Madonna.
I had my own,
Saturday.
and that's all I was worried about. Wasn't sharing it. Whatever they wanted. I don't know.
You know where they got that cocaine from?
Oh, I had my own, and that's all I was worried about. Like I was sharing it.
Hey, dude, at least he's honest. Oh, my
Okay. But you were using it, right? Okay.
God. Roxanne.
You leave Buddha Bar about 2?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. What time did you get to your house?
Right, 10 after, if that.
Okay, so you're right down the street.
I'm right down the street. Yeah.
All right. And what time did everyone finalize? Did
did they leave?
They were there probably an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, if that. So
So about-
before 4 o'clock, I would say.
All right. Did you have any further contact with Mr. Wilson?
Nope. Well, no. He come back to look at her cell phone, and I don't think I answered the door.
Yeah, at least he's honest.
Okay, how did he get back there? Do you know?
I don't know. I was inside.
So then he left.
Yep.
About what time was that?
Probably a little after they left, about 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes after they left. I don't quite remember.
I'm sorry, what do you do for work, sir?
I install garage doors.
Okay. What time did you have to be up for work?
I wasn't working there when this happened. This was 5 years ago.
Okay. So what time did you go to work on Monday?
Probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. When I was there, I was at a flooring place then.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
All right.
Nothing further from the state. I'd ask that you be excused.
Any objections?
No.
All right, sir, you're excused. Step down.
Okay. All right, you guys. So again, I want to give a little warning because this looks like it's going to be a Sergeant Caruso testifying. And the title, this is where they talk about finding Kristine. So let me take my banner down and I will fix it. And let's listen. But yeah, just one more time. Actually, I'm gonna put the trigger warning up just so nobody who comes in is caught off guard. And yeah, it looks like we have Sergeant Caruso's direct for not too long, about 15 minutes, then his cross. And then about 15 minutes in, we go to Nicholas Malone, his direct and cross, then a forensic tech, and their physical evidence and her cross. So we have 3 more witnesses. We're going to try to get through this 47 minutes by 7 or 7:30. I think Melissa probably goes at 7:30. We should definitely be done by then. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, Val, thank you for joining. Yay, thank you. Okay.
The state calls Charles Caruso. And inquire.
You may proceed.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Charles Caruso,
Where are you currently employed?
the City of Cape Coral Police Department.
What is your assignment with Cape Coral Police Department?
I'm a sergeant currently assigned to supervise the Marine unit.
Sergeant Caruso, what type of training and experience do you have to be in your current mission?
Aside from the academy training, which was about 4.5 months or so back when I did it. It's longer now. I've gone through about 300 hours, give or take, of advanced investigations training, and we get mandatory in-service training quarterly. So that over 26 years, it's quite a bit.
So you've been with Cape Coral Police Department for 26 years?
Not with Cape Coral, but overall, I just started my 27th year in January.
All right. Now, were you working on October 7th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your assignment on that day?
I was assigned to road patrol, and I was the supervisor of the South District.
Did you become aware of an investigation involving someone by the name of Wade Wilson?
Yes, I did.
And what was your specific role with regard to that investigation?
Specifically, there were a couple locations in South District that I was asked to check to make sure they were getting checked. look for the welfare of Kristine Melton because she had not been heard from and had not been seen.
And did you know who Kristine Melton was at that time?
No, ma'am.
So when you got this information that she was missing, were you aware of any other scenes already set up?
Yes, I knew there was a location in either the North or Central District. I think it was right on the border between the two, where her vehicle had been found.
And was that vehicle at Mateo Graphics?
Yes, ma'am.
So were there already Cape Coral police officers at that scene trying to determine where she was or what had happened?
Yes, ma'am. They were, from what I understood at the time, it was a.
Sustain.
Your Honor, if I may give an exception.
Okay.
Again, effect on the listener as to what he did.
All right. Sustain.
Okay, what do you do?
Based on all the facts and circumstances, I knew that we had, this was a very high priority. Several of my officers went to 4838 Tudor Drive, which is where we knew Kristine Melton lived.
There's some other areas that were checked as well.
Yes.
What other areas?
I had an officer go to Duffy's Tavern, which was a place that I found Kristine Melton was employed. I wanted to see if she was there. She was, and I would give an address on Stratford Court. That was somehow had been associated with Kristine in the past. I went there and spoke to the resident, and there was no connection to Kristine, so they were both. So those leads had been exhausted, and we were left with 4838 Tudor Drive.
At 4838 Tudor Drive, did you mention there were other officers that you had sent to that location? And I'm showing States Exhibit 10A. Is that the 4838 location that you're referring to? Ms. Melton's house?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yes, looks like it.
Okay. And were they able to make contact?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever go to that location?
Yes, I did.
Now, what did you do when you got to that location?
I got there and had been notified over the police radio that.
Sustain.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, when you were at that location, did you, again, no one had made contact with her?
Right, that's correct.
And had her body been found in the car back at Mateo's?
No, ma'am.
Rye, I just want to say thank you for joining. And hey, Justin, many people in the chat or a couple people have commented, does anyone think that he's done this before and not gotten away with it? And I see that some of you had. So yeah, I'm curious how the rest of you feel about that. I mean, we know that he has done this, just not taken a life before with Kelly. We learned that. And then also, I believe that he stabbed his ex-boyfriend. We heard that a little bit yesterday, and then Melissa confirmed that for me earlier. So I don't think that there's much about that out there, though. I'll see what there is. But yeah, curious what you guys think.
So what did you and the officers at her home decide to do?
We forced entry into the house by in the front door with a ram.
And what happened when you got inside of her home?
We were inside somewhere around 45 seconds. It's a small apartment, long enough to see there was nothing in the living room, nothing in the kitchen, but on the floor between the bedroom and the kitchen was a large bundle of. It was hard to tell, looked like bed sheets and clothing. We couldn't see anything right away. We spread apart the sheets just enough to see a leg, a lower portion of the leg. I noticed immediately there was a unique tattoo on it. And at that point, we backed out and left the apartment.
Okay. After you backed out, did you change your mind about staying out of the apartment?
Yes, ma'am. I realized in my kind of desire to make sure we protect the scene that we really hadn't cleared the bedroom adequately. And from my experience, I know that this is going to be a very lengthy investigation, and we need to make sure that everyone who's going to be there is going to be safe. So we need to make sure there was nobody hiding. And we also knew at that point there were other charges. And I also realized that we hadn't really done anything to confirm whether or not the person in the blankets was alive or dead.
Were you able to confirm whether the person in the blankets was alive or dead?
Yes, ma'am.
And how to do that?
I've put on a glove to feel for a pulse, and I could feel that her arm was already stiff.
And you said,
I have to pause for commentary, but I honestly truly don't have a lot to add on this. Tess, I agree. I'm glad that he was so cognizant about being careful. Got to think about like his mental health, and just thankful that there are police officers out there doing jobs like this. Other than that, I just don't have too much to add here. Okay.
said that you cleared the home. Did you find any other person at all in that house?
No, ma'am.
May I approach?
You may.
Sergeant, I'm approaching you and showing you some items of evidence. If you could take a look at each of these pictures, please.
Yes, Gadoosh. Hitmen don't usually brag about being hitmen, but I don't know. Maybe I haven't ever met any in person, I guess, so I couldn't say for sure, but I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
These items fairly and accurately represent the outside of the home and the inside of the home back on October 7th of 2019.
Yes, ma'am.
And at this time, the state would move exhibits 10, 10B, 10C, and 10D into evidence.
Be admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Sergeant, you were testifying that when you first walked in, you saw what looked like a pile of blankets in between the kitchen and the bedroom. Is this what you first saw when you walked in?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you State's Exhibit 10C. Is this a closer up view of those blankets that you observed?
Yes, it is.
Then you mentioned seeing a unique tattoo showing you State's Exhibit 10D. Where is that tattoo? Are you able to see from there on that photograph?
Yeah, it was on the lower right, lower portion of her right.
Showing you a close-up, which is 10E. Is that the tattoo on the leg you were referring to?
So it looks like they don't show us, they didn't stream the images. I've watched trials where they did. I'm thankful for that. We're going to watch it however it looks, but I would rather that. I expected like the most gruesome ones they wouldn't show, but honestly, they're showing us Wade and his reaction to the photo. So I'd rather see that. Not that I don't get curious. I have a very curious mind, but I just think for like streaming purposes, it's different.
To?
Yes, ma'am.
It's more respectful.
Did you actually take a photograph of that tattoo on her leg?
Yes, I did.
What was your purpose in doing that?
Knowing how this investigation would play out, I knew that it would be it might help in help making an identification.
So at that time, when you saw this body, you weren't for sure whose it was?
That's correct.
Now, after you backed out the second time, did you have a crime scene prepared?
Yes, I instructed my officers to put up crime scene tape and start a crime scene contamination list.
What is a crime scene contamination list?
It's just a log of everyone who comes and goes and the times that they enter and exit the crime scene.
About what time was it that you arrived and entered Ms. Mountain's home?
I got on scene about roughly 4 o'clock. We made entry, I believe it was 4:12.
So that's 4:12 p.m. on October 7th.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm showing you State's Exhibit 10, and it looks like there's some yellow crime scene tape. Was that put up by officers blocking off that home and that scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And so if someone went past that yellow crime scene tape, do they have to sign that contamination log?
Yes.
Now, as about how many people once you
Interesting contamination log. I like that. I mean, I can think of other cases where I would have loved to see that happen.
realized this was a crime scene, about how many officers would you say showed initially?
While I was there, I think it was just me and officers from my squad. So there were
I'm just about done with his
4 or
direct.
5.
And was a homicide investigator assigned come out and take over the actual investigation of this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, as you were on that scene, did any of Kristine Melton's family members begin to show?
Yes.
Oh my.
And were you the one that actually notified them of anything?
No, I didn't.
Did you have a victim advocate come to the scene?
Yes.
And as far as the identification and the notification, was that assigned to other officers later?
Yes, that was assigned to a detective who was working on the case.
Once you cleared that house, was a search warrant signed off on so that crime scene could come in, do a thorough investigation and collection of evidence?
As far as I understand, yes.
So you weren't involved in collecting any of that evidence?
That's correct.
We have a moment, Your Honor.
Yeah.
And nothing further, and tender the witness.
All right.
Okay, so now we have the cross.
Strong.
It's going to be pretty quick, and we're on to another officer. Or not sure who it is.
You forced entry, the front door.
That's correct.
You went in, you located Miss Melton. How long did that take?
It was under a minute.
Oh my gosh.
You and your officers came out of the house.
Yes, that's correct.
Did you go back in to a second time to clear the house? Is that what you tested to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long were you in there that time?
About 3.5 minutes.
Did any of the officers disturb the pile that Miss Melton's body was under?
No. In fact, I told the other officers to stay where they were, and I knew it was a small room that needed to be cleared, and there was no point in any more than one person going, so I did that myself.
Accomplice, I believe we'll get there to some of the other evidence. Right now, we're going through everything with Kristine. And then Diana, I'm curious, did they show any of Mila's interrogation during the trial? I know Melissa sent it to me so we could watch it when it comes up, but I just didn't know if they showed it during the trial, or I'm not sure how we're going to do it, because I do want to be able to go back and hear the 911 call, these interrogations, some of the body cams, not necessarily all of them, but if there is something in particular of interest that like we want to see, which like I said, Melissa was very nice and sent me all of that stuff, and I have it all pinned to this, saved to where I can easily get to it. So yeah, did they show any of it?
Okay. You didn't find anyone else in the house?
No, sir.
Thank you. Nothing further, Judge.
Nothing further, Your Honor. I'd ask that you be excused.
Any objection?
And now we have Nicholas Malone.
Sit down and you're excused.
Thank you.
Stand State calls Nicholas Malone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please state your name for the record.
Nicholas Malone,
Where are you employed?
Cape Coral Police,
How long have you been with Cape Coral Police Department?
over 15 years.
Could you describe your training and experience you've had?
Basic Law Enforcement Academy in Broward in 2007, 2008. Hired on with Fort Lauderdale. Good experience for over 8 years, field training officer. Then I was assigned to the Professional Standards Bureau, backfiring of officers. And I was tasked with the, from there I went to Major Crimes, assigned to the FBI Task Force, tracking down internet predators,
Say it again, please.
tracking down internet predators against kids.
Now, you're working on October 7th of 2019.
Well, that's quite the resume. That's awesome. Sherry, thank you for joining. Yeah, I appreciate that so much. And I'd put it in the chat, but to the new members, check out the new emojis. And I dropped a video series on members only. It's actually I'd release it on Patreon first and then move it over here a short time later. But they're just quick videos. You guys might be interested to check them out. True crime hot takes. And then Steph, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you so much. I'm still laughing about you hearing me talk to Steph when you were in the bushes. That's funny, but thank you. Yay. And more people can check out the emojis or whatever. Thank you for that, Steph. And welcome to the members. Okay, let's keep listening.
Yes.
And what was your assignment on that day?
That I was assisting, I was in Major Crimes, assisting in information regarding a vehicle that had fled.
Now, as part of major crimes, are they involved in investigating homicide cases?
Yes.
So, were you able to determine with regard to that car fleeing who that car belonged to?
Yes.
And who did that car belong to?
Miss Melton
Were you involved in any attempts to try to locate Miss Melton?
was.
And did you end up finding out her emergency contact?
I did.
Who was her emergency contact?
Sorry if I mispronounced, Miss Cometer.
And was her first name Samantha?
Yes.
Did you end up being able to get in touch with her?
Hey, Bendy.
Did she put you in touch with somebody by the name of Stephanie Johnson?
Yes.
Now, during this time, have you yet located Kristine Melton, or has anybody located her?
Not that I'm aware of.
Now, at some point, did you learn that Kristine Melton had been found?
Yes.
Did you have any involvement in going into her home or helping with evidence?
No.
Did you actually ever go into her home and see her body?
No.
Now, did you try to see if you could learn more information from neighbors or going around the neighborhood?
Yes.
Can you just describe to the jurors what it was that you were tasked with doing?
It was a simple canvas of a neighborhood, if anybody saw or heard anything. So I knocked on doors, spoke to people. The consensus of the people I spoke to, there was nothing out of the ordinary thought I heard. During that canvas on the 7th, I was able to locate also cameras on a building on that road, Tudor Drive, 4807. They had cameras pointing north and south on that road. So I just make note of the camera systems if I can't make contact with the people that day.
Okay. Did you actually review any footage or any camera footage that you noted?
I did.
Okay. And what camera footage did you note that had some interest to you?
So the camera 1 and camera 2 that was on building of 4807 Tudor.
Ooh, I hope you get to see the camera footage.
That building behind it on Marine Drive, I believe is 4810. That was the business area of Mr. Bill Masters owned both properties. I had made contact with him to try to get the video or review it. So I had gone back later, I believe on the 10th, to review that video, camera 1 and 2.
And when you reviewed that video, did you note anything of any significance on that camera?
I did.
Okay. And what did you see on that camera?
So the camera system was showing the hours that I recorded from 0300 to, I believe, 0620 hours. And I was able to identify a vehicle matching the description of the black Nissan Versa.
And was that the car that belonged to Kristine Melton?
It appeared so, yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Sir, I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 12. If you just take a look at this, what is this piece of evidence?
It's a DVD of the video that I received with my initials on it.
Did you have the opportunity to review this video?
Yes, I've seen that.
And it's the same video that you collected?
Yes,
Did you put your initials and a date that you read it?
I did.
At this time, the state would move 12 into evidence.
So just so you guys know, this is a very quick witness. We're just about done. Then we'll get into his direct. And then the next one is someone with forensics. So I think there we're going to hear, more about the crime scene. Just so you guys are somewhat prepared, I want to let you know. And then the other thing I wanted to say is I turned on the redirect just now to Melissa's live. And I see that her live is called, "Where Did Younger Jessie See Herself Being in 10 Years?" plus RE call. So that looks like it will be interesting. And when this is over, it should take us like straight there. There might be a button that says go to Melissa J's. You can click, and whether it's started or not, it will still take you there to where you can turn on the notification or, that kind of thing. Okay, let's keep listening so we can get through this to our next witness. Also, for the replay viewers, don't forget, I'll have everything timestamped probably within 5 to 10 minutes after the live is done.
Be admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may.
Bueno lover, thank you. Thank you
You
so much.
mentioned
I
you
appreciate that. I
conducted
love
a
you too. Thank you.
canvass of the area. Did you also conduct several interviews of people that had information about this case?
I did.
Was one of those interviews of Stephen Testifies?
Yes.
And what was his relationship to the case?
Father,
The father of who?
Wilson.
And did you record
At
that interview
8:04.
that you conducted with him?
I did.
Did you also conduct an interview with his wife?
I did.
Was that interview also recorded?
Yes.
When you interviewed the two of them,
Ellie B, let me go back to it. Hold on. I'll let it play one more time. I think it just shows his vehicle go by. Yeah.
and you mentioned you conducted a neighborhood canvas area. Did you also conduct several interviews of people that had information about this case? Was one of those interviews of Stephen Testifies?
Yes.
And what was his relationship to the case?
Father,
The father of who?
Mr. Wilson.
And did you record that interview that you conducted with him?
I did.
Did you also conduct an interview with him?
I did.
Was that interview also recorded?
Yes.
When you interviewed the two of them, did you make sure they were separated?
I did.
And then did you also write a statement about your involvement in this case? You have a moment? Nothing further, Your Honor. The state tenders a witness.
All right.
The video of them was on. There's a car moving down the street. I assume that's, you're interested in? You have to
Yes.
answer that loud.
Yes.
Okay. What time did that car come in?
So on video, the system, it was approximately 6:10 a.m. However, like
I
most
didn't
systems
look.
in the past,
look.
people don't change their time, like my personal one, I don't. So they're typically an hour off. So that time I was able to determine that was approximately an hour off the system.
And we've seen that before with Leilani's case. Steph, thank you. That's really sweet. I appreciate that. And Melissa says that guard behind him, his face says everything. Now I'll have to pay attention because I wasn't looking at that. Let's see. And then, hey, Lavender Sky. I'm glad that you're here and thank you. Okay.
For fallback. So the morning hours there, I was able to easily just figure out that the system was approximately an hour off. So even though the system shows that it's 6:10, it was probably 7:10 a.m.
Okay, so it's an hour behind.
Correct, because if it was actually 6:10, it would have been dark outside still during that time.
Did you interview someone named Anthony?
I spoke with her. I don't believe I did a formal interview with her.
What was her last name?
Miss Johnson?
Okay, so you're calling her in for that? Is that the Johnson testified earlier?
I need clarification. There was a few women I spoke to.
Okay.
Stephanie Johnson they were talking about.
Why did you not, if you talked to her by phone, am I correct?
Correct.
Why did you not do a face-to-face interview or a recorded interview or something?
Which one is Andrea? The Andrea.
Well, you said Johnson.
Which last name are you referring to? I spoke to a couple of women.
Right, and one of them was named Andrea.
Okay. Was that the one that I would have to recall my affidavit if that was the one that worked at Buddha?
May I approach?
You may.
See if this.
Oh, Adrian, thank you. You go, girl. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. So is Jessie there at this time, you guys? Was she supposed to be there? They have the mic muted while they're at the bench.
I did interview at the station.
And worked where?
Thank you, Adrian.
I believe at the Buddha nightclub.
Okay, so she was what, a bartender?
I believe so.
Know her last name?
Can't recall it right now. I did my affidavit.
Our next witness is
Can I have a moment, Judge?
You may.
Christina Potts.
All right. Any objection?
Write it down.
All right. You can step down and you're excused.
Okay. So now we are on our last witness for today, you guys.
Christina Potts.
Christina's going to be our last witness for today. We're going to try to get through this. It's about 25 minutes. Again, she's forensic tech. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself, ladies and gentlemen jury, by telling them your name.
My name is Christina Potts.
And where do you work?
I'm a forensic technician with the Cape Coral Police Department.
And that answers my next question.
Sorry.
And how long have you been a forensic technician for the Cape Coral Police Department?
For 12 years.
And what is involved in being a forensic technician?
We're responsible for responding to crime scenes, all types of them, from burglaries to homicides. We photograph them, document them through notes, sketches, video. We also collect items and process them. And I also do fingerprint comparisons and digital forensics.
And approximately how many crime scenes would you say that you've gone through over the course of the years?
Over 1,000.
Her name sounds so familiar. Has she testified in something we've watched, you guys, that you remember in another trial? My goodness.
Now, I want to direct your attention specifically to the 7th of October of 2019. Did you have occasion to go to a residence at 4838 Tudor Drive in Cape
Yes.
Coral?
Yes.
And what was the reason for you to go to that location?
We responded there for a search warrant for a death investigation.
And what did you do when you arrived at that particular location?
I met with officers on scene. They explained
Really?
everything. I took photographs starting with the exterior and took overall exterior and interior and then progressed through the scene.
What was the purpose of taking overalls as far as photography goes?
To document everything from distance. So that way, when you examine it closer, you can see the orientation and the location.
And then also indicated that you went ahead and took photographs of the interior as well?
Yes.
Now, if I may approach, Judge?
You may.
I'm handing you a whole stack of photographs here that have been already previously admitted into evidence. I ask that you take a look at those items and see if you recognize those.
Yes.
And are those photographs that you took of 4838 Tudor Drive?
Yes.
Possible also handing you producing markers 10F, 10G, and 10H.
Tessa, I think we have seen her.
Items,
I'm going to look later.
Yes.
And do those fairly and accurately depict the interior of
Serial Mommy, thank you for joining.
the items that you collected from Miss Kristine Melton's body?
Yes.
Judge, state move 10F, 10G, and 10H into evidence at this time.
All right, there'll be a minute.
Now, after you go ahead and photograph and collect the various items on the interior, do you also go ahead and prepare what's called a diagram?
Yes, somebody on scene usually does, yes.
And what would be the purpose of preparing the diagram?
It's another form of documentation to show orientation of things.
When we say orientation things, you're talking about items that are contained within the residence in relationship to each other.
Yes.
Producing mark states exhibit number 11. Are you familiar with that particular item?
So typically, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, forensics, we're not going to hear about, you know, her injuries and stuff yet. We might hear about some of the testing that was done, but when the medical examiner takes the stand, then we will hear, you know, in depth about that stuff. But it's still going to be regarding, you know, finding her and doing all the tests and that kind of stuff. And I believe Tess said they even bring in some of the evidence into the courtroom.
Are you familiar with that item?
It's a diagram taken of the residence at Tudor Drive.
And that diagram fairly and accurately depicts the items in relationship to each other based upon the photography and the photographs that you took on the 7th of October of 2019. Is that correct?
Yes.
Judge State moves to exhibit number 11 in evidence at this time as well.
Be a minute.
Judge, if I may approach and collect the various items to publish.
You may.
I'd like to direct your attention to the screen to your right.
Are we going to get to see any of this? Okay.
States 10.
Here, let me
It's a
take down our
photograph
banner.
of obviously the mailbox, which orients the exact address to which you were dispatched. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when we're looking at 10A, what are we looking at there?
That is the exterior of the residence, a little closer from the mailbox to show the whole outside from the front.
I've got a video of some
Now,
of
to
that.
assist us when we enter this particular residence, I'd like to show you the diagram, states exhibit number 11. Can you orient us with regards to where the front door would be?
The front door is in the bottom right corner with the line that is
right here,
kind of at a 90-degree angle in and out.
So directly where my pen is and where it says we're in entrance, is that right?
Yes.
As we enter into the front door, directly to our left, what area am I referring to as I'm circling the first big rectangle?
I appreciate a good diagram like this because it gives us, we can get more of a visual of how things looked in there. So I believe that this here L would be Kristine. And I'm going to, you know, I don't know. We're going to let them tell us what everything is, but that's the way it appears. You can see the front door right here and it's marked living room, kitchen. Here's the bathroom and here's the bedroom. So here we go.
Angle that's to the left of that area.
The furthest to the left is the living room area and then the dining room table. There we go.
And if we proceeded in the front door and moved our way back into this particular diagram where it says kitchen, is that in fact indeed the kitchen?
Yes.
And then if we went to the left here and we see this item here that looks almost like a elongated cloud. Item C, I believe, or L, excuse me.
Exactly, Lisa.
What exactly are we looking at in that particular photograph or diagram?
That is the female body that was away, wrapped in the bedding.
How far would you say that particular item was in relationship to the doorway?
It was in the middle of the doorway.
And from the front door, how far would you say it would be?
And I know, what did I just do? And I know for people who are, not looking at the screen, it can be a little bit frustrating when people might respond to a comment but not tell you what it says. So because of that, and I just said exactly to Lisa, I want to respond to her comment because she says sometimes all of the defense can do is make sure the prosecution plays fair, follow the law. There is no defense. Wade didn't give one, and you can't just make shit up. I said I want to respond to it. I want you guys to see it because I completely agree. Okay, sorry.
Diagram, is that right?
Yes.
And then
A body that was in the doorway, wrapped in the bedding.
how far would you say that particular item was in relationship to the doorway?
It was a little way.
And from the front door, how far would you say it would be? Approximately.
A distance.
So if I directed your attention here to what's previously admitted as a state exhibit number B, is that the doorway that you're referring to? That back where the
wow.
In that doorway we see looks like a pile of bedding.
Yes.
And that's that cloud object.
Oh my goodness. This is Kristine, wrapped in all of her bedding and her clothes. My God, he is such a disgusting monster. And again, just the trigger warning is up. They are showing some of the images.
It's depicted on the diagram.
Yes.
So then as we make our way to 10C, what did you do when you observed that particular pile of bedding and clothing?
That poor cat.
Photographed it.
Terrible.
Did you do anything more with it at that point in time?
No.
And then we're looking at 10D. It's a closer up photograph of the bedding and the clothing that's tied around it.
Yes.
Now, is this photograph one that you took as well, 10E?
Yes.
Now, after these particular photographs,
Look at him looking at it. You are
did you
just
do next?
gross.
Waited for the medical examiner to respond.
Did they respond?
Yes.
And what did you do after they responded?
We had to take the thing apart layer by layer and photographed everything as we removed it.
So when we're referring to State's Exhibit number 10F that you just identified, what are we looking at in this particular photograph?
That is clothing that was tied together and wrapped around outside of the bedding.
And what kind of clothing was that was being utilized to make the ties?
I believe that one is a pair of jeans, a shirt, and a bra.
Oh my gosh. Right here.
And then we're looking at 10G, where we're looking at in this photograph.
That is a white scarf that was used it was wrapped around her hands.
And did you ultimately remove that scarf as well?
Yes.
My God.
Is that
you
what we're
guys.
looking here at?
Just so.
Item 10H?
Yes.
Now, when you discovered the body all wrapped up in those sheets and tied up with that clothing, what happens to the clothing that you had gone ahead and unwrapped the body with?
Each item was left tied as it was and was packaged separately and collected as evidence.
And what do you do when you collect evidence?
We submit it to our evidence unit, and most of those items were sent for additional testing.
Now, when you collect these particular items, how is it that you are processing them when you get them back to the lab?
They're laid out on butcher paper and photographed in the lab setting, usually with a scale.
And do you ultimately wind up going ahead and placing them into specific bags into evidence?
Yes.
All right. And what's involved in doing that?
If something's collected from the scene, we put it in a bag at the scene, and then we transport it back to the lab, and it's in my custody that entire time.
Is that to maintain integrity and control over a specific item?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Watson, handing which previously marked cases number 16, 17, and 18. Do you recognize each and every one of those items that are currently before you at this time?
Yes.
How do you recognize those?
By the sticker on them with my handwriting and case documentation.
And are you aware of whether or not those items are in the same or similar condition as to when you last saw them?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, at this time, the state respectfully request assistance as it relates to all three items with a pair of scissors and a pair of gloves, so that way she may examine each item. Please look into item that's previously been marked as state exhibit number 16. What is that item?
That is the black, white, and gray tied clothing.
Okay. And is that item in substantially same or similar condition as to when you last saw it?
Yes.
And was that item sent off to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for further testing?
Yes.
Judge, state move state number 16 in evidence at this time.
Any objection?
No.
Be admitted.
Permission to publish, Judge.
You may.
For both of those items, the two items that we see here, it states exhibit number 10D, which is the photograph depicting the tie here towards the bottom of this particular photograph near the leg area.
Yes.
Directing your attention to state's exhibit number 17. Just kindly look into that bag and see if you recognize that item.
Yes.
How do you recognize those items?
The items are collected, and they are the two shirts, bra, top, and jeans.
Are those items in substantially same or similar condition as to when you last saw them? And were those items also sent off to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for forensic testing?
Yes.
Judge, state would move state's exhibit number 17 in evidence at this time.
Objection. Be admitted.
Publish, Judge.
Yeah.
That poor cop behind him. Everyone actually in the courtroom, it has to be traumatizing. You see this stuff in real life, up close and personal. My goodness. Woo. Let's turn that down for a second. For anybody wearing earbuds, I am sorry.
Looked at and published for the jury just a moment ago. Are those items one of the same items that you had gone ahead and taken a photograph of here in State's Exhibit 10D, which reflects the ties midway up the torso in particular photograph that we have before the jury at this time?
Yes.
And those were the items that you had to untie in order to place in that bag. Is that correct?
I did not untie them. They were untied at daily.
Fair enough.
I know him,
I asked you to take a look at the State's Exhibit number 18. Recognize that item?
Yes.
What is that item?
It is a blind rod that was found inside the bedding.
So when you say inside the bedding, what do you mean?
We did not locate it until we had taken the clothing off.
A what rod? I didn't hear it, and I don't want to
We
remind
started to open up
on you guys.
the bedding. It was inside with the body.
And did you obviously also send that off for forensic testing?
Yes.
And is that item in substantially same or similar condition as to when you last saw it?
Yes.
Judge State moves State's Exhibit 18 in evidence at this time.
Any objection? Be admitted.
God.
Permission to publish, Judge.
You may.
Okay. Thank you, guys. That's what I thought, but you are one disgusting pig. In my opinion.
Now, was there anything of note?
Okay, for the
or
blinds.
Evidentiary value that you saw
Thank you, Dana.
on this particular item, other than it was collected and found with the body that was wrapped?
Yes, there was red stains on one of the ends.
Oh my God.
Do you know which end?
The non-handle. This one.
Now, Ms. Potts, did you have any further involvement in this particular case after you had gone ahead and conducted the crime scene processing?
Yes.
Oh
was
my
that?
God, you guys.
I also
Me feel
completed
sick
a body
too.
search warrant.
And what is a body search?
When there is a search warrant provided to collect evidence from a body, usually.
Allie, I don't think that we could see them. Allie B says what stains. I couldn't see them. And I'm sure that they probably, some of them were destroyed in the process of, trying to get DNA and stuff off of it. I know that usually that's the risk they take. Like they'll only have so much DNA to test. And once they test it, it's not, it won't be there anymore. It's not going to be the same. It's going to change a little bit. So that's why documenting it all along the way is so important. But maybe there was, and I couldn't see. I don't know. All I know is it's so hard to watch that online. Imagine being there,
Photographs, possible clothing, swabs.
And did you conduct
Wade Wives, where are you at, Wade Wives? I gotta ask, what is sexy about that? What makes you, I don't know, it just makes you, no wonder people get so angry with them.
Wilson?
Yes, I did.
And see what's in the room today.
Yes, I did.
Please point him out and describe our clothing that he's wearing.
He is sitting at the right side table in a blue jacket and L tie.
Now, would you please describe for us, when you conduct a body search warrant, how you go about doing it?
First, I photograph the warrant usually, then I take photos of the individual, pull closer close-ups of hands, then have them turn around and do the same, and also any tattoos, marks, cuts, scratches, anything of possible evidentiary value.
Does that also entail collecting work called buccal swabs?
Yes,
And what are buccal swabs?
they are swabs from the inside of the cheeks
And what is the purpose of collecting buccal swabs?
to obtain a known DNA standard.
And would that be from the saliva obviously contained within the mouth?
Yeah, the saliva and scales.
Judge, let the record reflect on showing defense counsel from Kristine Mark, Station 38.
You may.
Counsel, I'm handing you some Kristine Mark, Station 38. Take a look at that item, see if you recognize that.
Yes.
How do you recognize that?
I recognize it by the sticker in my handwriting with the case documentation.
And is that item in substantially the same or similar condition to when you last saw it?
Yes.
And what is different about that particular envelope?
There's additional sealing from FDLE and an additional sticker.
That means that it was off to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for forensic testing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Judge, at this time, move Stacey Zimner 38 in evidence.
Any objection? Be admitted.
I have no further questions for this witness at this time, Judge.
All right.
So the person that will likely, I think, go through the results of that testing would probably be one of the detectives or investigators when they discuss, you know, getting the results back from the lab, that kind of thing. So now we're on the cross. Wait. Yeah, cross. And then a quick, very quick redirect and a very quick recross.
Apparently there were some sort of clothing tied around the, what was it, a mattress?
It was like the mattress pad, the foam and sheets and blankets.
Okay, and what was tied around them?
Ooh, I love Dr. G.
Okay. Did you do those clothing items?
I did not untie them.
She already said that.
Carefully pulled them off to keep them in the same condition they were in.
All right, and that's how you sent them
Wake up, dude. Are you paying attention? She already said that.
to the FDLA?
Yes.
I heard that, and we're watching chat. We're talking to each other in the chat and watching. You know, it's come on, bro. Buckle, yeah, Jessica. I've heard it both ways.
Executed a search warrant, the body search warrant.
He's been
Some of
sleeping,
Mr.
apparently.
Wilson's clothing had stains on them.
Yes.
Did you test for blood or any substance?
Yes, I did test them for blood with presumptive testing.
I'm sorry.
I did presumptive blood testing on them, yes, on the stains.
And
Okay.
were they negative?
Yes.
Oh, well, if it was, you know, it could have been another kind of. We're gonna hear what it was. He's trying to point out that it wasn't blood. But those are just presumptive tests anyways. So let's keep listening. We'll find out later on.
You process Miss Melton's house for fingerprints, correct?
Yes.
Michelle, they called it buccal, I think, but I've heard it called buccal and buckle both by professionals, but so I don't know.
And you took fingerprints from Mr. Wilson?
I did not take fingerprints from him.
Did you compare the fingerprints that
Oh, I thought it was
you
the
collected from
the
the house
rod
against
you're talking about.
what you were advised were Mr. Wilson's fingerprints?
A different analyst did the fingerprint comparison.
Who was that, ma'am?
Lisa Lansky did the report.
Did you process any of the items that were around the body for DNA?
Yes.
And what did you find?
I collected swab samples from almost every item I collected, and I don't believe those were sent for testing.
They were
not sent for testing
Why not?
because we're allotted a certain amount of items that we're allowed to send, and we can only continue testing if there's not evidentiary value found from the initial items.
And there, I take it, since you weren't able to send these items, there was nothing of evidentiary value found in what was submitted.
No, that means there was.
There was. Okay, so why didn't they send the rest of the items that you processed, that you located?
It was not requested.
Did you process Ms. Melton's car?
I did not.
May I have one moment, Judge?
Yes.
Just for clarification, when you conducted your body search warrant of Mr. Wilson, do you know approximately how many days or how much after you processed the scene did that body search warrant take place?
It was the same night.
It was the same night?
Yes.
Now, the items that you had gone ahead that were not sent off, are you aware of whether or not Florida Department of Law Enforcement goes ahead and continues testing various items that are found around a particular item or a specific item of interest once they've confirmed specific DNA?
They usually will not continue testing.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else?
Just one.
Go ahead.
Real quick redirect.
So it's FBI's position, to your knowledge, in a homicide case, that they only test a limited number of items?
Yes. Depending on the evidentiary results that they get.
So if the items test positive to begin with, they don't want anymore?
What?
They may accept additional items, but they will not take every item from a case. No.
Of course not.
Anything else?
No, Judge.
All right, you can
May
step
I
down.
ask, should be excused?
Any objection?
So that is it, you guys. Let's see what we have to look at tomorrow. And then before we go, oh my, we have his dad. You know what? Melissa's not on until 8. Maybe we'll go ahead and watch his dad's testimony. I do have a letter from Kelly, the woman we watched yesterday. I've got to get a new page in my notes that Melissa sent, but we may look at that tomorrow because I don't want to wait. Like I want to, it's like when I'm watching a show I like and I'm interested in, and I get to the end of an episode and I can't wait. That's how I feel right now. I want to see this. So, let's see. We're going to go ahead and listen to it, you guys. That chick between his two attorneys is Alexis. Huh. Okay, well, dad testifies against him. Let's see. Is it all direct or no? I'm not really sure, but it's only 15 minutes long, so I know we can get through it. Let's go ahead and listen to it.
All right, sir, if you'll just face the clerk, raise your right hand. She'll swear you in.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
You can take the stand.
I think you're right, Allie, because I looked ahead before, and I wanted to watch Mila's so bad. Next is Kristine's autopsy. So tomorrow we'll start with Kristine's autopsy, and I'll actually look right now while we start this and see what we have after that, and I'll let you guys know in the chat. Okay.
You may proceed.
Good morning. Please state your name for the record.
Stephen Testiseca.
Mr. Testiseca, where are you employed?
I'm self-employed.
What type of work do you do?
Window and door replacement.
Are you married?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your wife's name?
Melanie.
Do you live in Fort Myers?
No, ma'am.
What city do you live in?
Lakeland.
About how far is Lakeland from Fort Myers?
2 hours.
How old are you, sir?
46.
You know someone by the name of Wade Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know Wade Wilson?
He's my son.
How old were you when you found out you were going to be his father?
14 or 15.
How old was his mother at the time?
A year younger than me.
Now, were either of you in a position at that age to be able to raise him?
No, ma'am.
Was he placed up for adoption?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was he adopted by?
Candy and Steve Wilson.
And did they have any connection to you or Wade Wilson's mother?
You mean?
Like how did they,
Oh,
how were they known?
they went to church with Wade's mother's parents.
So that was how they connected and ended up raising Wade Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you have any other children?
Yes, ma'am. 2 daughters.
And have you spoken with them on numerous occasions?
I've spoken with Candy.
And that's his adoptive mom?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at some point, did you and Wade Wilson connect?
Yes, ma'am.
How old was Wade Wilson when he connected with you?
18.
And was he wanting to connect with you because you were his biological father?
Yes.
And
So, yeah, I don't have too much to add now, except for, I'm thankful for his dad. I'm thankful for the fact that, he turned him in and he has cooperated so much. And while also, I remember I watched some of his video visit with Wade on Melissa's, I think, and it still seemed like he was trying to be supportive and love Wade, but also trying to do the right thing, which, is a very tough spot to be in. So.
And up until that point, had you ever met him?
No, ma'am.
Did you end up attempting to have a relationship with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he seem to want to have a relationship?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, did you have phone calls often?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have occasions where you would see each other?
No. I went up and visited him one time in Tallahassee.
Okay. Now, did he often ask you for money?
Yes, ma'am.
Did your relationship turn
They look alike.
into a situation where he was just asking for your help?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to turn your attention to Monday, October 7th of 2019. Did Wade Wilson get in touch with you through phone call that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was it that he told you when he called?
The first time he said
Wow, Jessica.
he needed help. He had done something that he couldn't take back.
Okay, I'm going to rewind it 10 seconds because I don't want to cut into this at all. Jessica says, I heard the first time they ever met in person was at a jail visit when he was in jail previously. They do look a lot alike. Okay, so I'm going to shut my mouth for a minute and let's listen to this together. We're in it together. Okay.
He called.
The first time he said he needed help. He had done something that he couldn't take back.
Did he indicate that he and his girl had gotten into an argument?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was his girl that you were aware of at the time?
I just knew her as Mila.
And did it seem that he wanted your help because of this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
When he called you, were you actually at work?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to really give your attention and time to him to try to help him at that point?
No, ma'am.
So what did you tell him when he was asking for your help?
I just told him to call me back around dinner time. I'd be done and we'd figure it out.
And did you at some point have a conversation with your wife about getting in touch with you, wanting help?
No, you guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, during the time that he was supposed to call, about what time was he supposed to call back?
I told him around dinner time.
Now, between the time he first called that day and dinner time, did you receive a call from a detective?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that detective looking for your son?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when the detective was looking for your son, did you have any idea at that point of what had happened?
No, ma'am.
Did the detective want you to try to help them get in touch with your son?
She just gave me a number and said, if he calls you back, we need to talk to him.
Okay. Now, did he end up calling you later in the evening?
Yes.
And what did he tell you in that call that evening?
The final call?
Nope, the call before the final call.
He just told me, he did something. There was 2 people gone that would not be back. He said, I'm a killer. I just told him to call me back.
There's 2 people gone that won't be back. I do have to pause again for fair use, not to be repetitive, but I'm trying not to interrupt because I think it's important and impactful what he has to say, right? But can you imagine getting a call from your child like that? I've done something. I've heard someone, there's 2 people who are gone and they won't be coming back. Like, oh my God, I cannot imagine that. And I know your first instinct, which, okay, let's say, he's adopted. He didn't raise him. But would that change the fact that most people's first instinct would be protect your child? I don't know. Oh, Crystal, thank you. Wild, though.
I just thought it was a story.
So this point, when he
That's
said
another
that
story.
there were two people that wouldn't be with us and that he was a killer, did you put a lot of weight into that?
No, ma'am.
Do you think he was just telling you a story?
He's a good storyteller.
So did he then call you back a third time?
Yes, ma'am.
What time did he call you back?
It was around 10 o'clock.
I want to go back to that dinner time call. When he talked about these two people who are no longer with us and that he was a killer, did he show any type of remorse?
No, ma'am.
So let's go now to the 10 o'clock call. Again, your wife knew about kind of what was going on during that day.
Yes, ma'am.
And when he called back at 10, he go into more details about what he had told you earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start with the first girl. If you could tell the jurors, what did he tell you?
He just said he met a girl at a bar. They went back to her house, hung out for a bit, and then she fell asleep.
What did he say happened after she fell asleep?
He said he got on top of her and choked her.
What name did he call her?
You would think he would tell his dad the truth if he's willing to go into like, what do you guys think about this? Do you believe that she was asleep? Why would he lie? He's already bragging. Apparently, it seemed like he was bragging. Hopefully, they'll mention that because that's what was mentioned in the opening statement.
Did he refer to her in a derogatory term?
He said, I choked that bitch.
And what did he say he did after he choked her?
He said he stayed in the house for a little while, and then he rolled her up and was going to try to put her in her trunk, but he couldn't lift her.
Did he say why he was unable to put her in her trunk?
He said that he felt like rigor mortis had started to set in.
And does rigor mortis make your body stiff? You didn't know?
I think so.
Wait, let me hear that part again.
He said that he rolled her up, and
what did he say he did after he choked her?
he said he stayed in the house for a little while, and then he rolled her up and was going to try to put her in her trunk, but he couldn't lift her.
Oh.
Did he say why he was unable to put her in her trunk?
He said that he felt like rigor mortis had set in.
And does rigor mortis make your body? You didn't know?
I think so.
So he just told you that was the reason that he couldn't lift her and get her into her trunk?
Yes, ma'am.
And when he said her trunk, it was the trunk of her car he was going to put her in?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did he tell you he did when he...
I have to read this. MS Girl says, those words speak volumes of how Wade really feels about women. I completely agree. Remy, he's not even blinking. Ugh. Even reading that, like, he infuriates me. He like lights something inside of you where he's just absolutely disgraceful. I'm sorry, but I know how people feel about, some people don't like the death penalty and stuff, but to me, I'm glad he got it, honestly.
He couldn't get her body into her own trunk.
He left her there and took her car.
What did he say about the second girl?
He said he saw her walking down the street and stopped and asked her for directions. And she got in the car with him.
All she was doing was try to go to work, try to be a productive citizen, go to her job.
What did he say happened once she got in the car with him?
He said he reached over and choked her.
And did he tell you that he choked her while he was driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what did he say happened after he choked her?
He said he was looking for a place to put her body.
Did he find a place where he eventually dumped her body?
Yes, ma'am.
What did he tell you about the situation when to the place he was going to dump her body?
He said that he pulled her out of her and realized that she was still breathing.
So what did he tell you he did when he realized she's still breathing?
He said he got back in the car and ran her over until she looked like spaghetti.
As he's telling you all these things.
My God. I had heard, I've heard that. We heard it in the opening. I'd heard it before, but just hearing it from him it just hits my ears different, I guess. I don't know.
What's his demeanor as he's telling you?
He was excited.
You say excited. What do you mean by that?
I felt like he was wanting me to feel the way he felt about it.
Did he seem proud of it?
Yes.
Did he show any kind of remorse?
Oh, man.
And was he able to go into great detail about both of these ladies' deaths?
Yes, ma'am.
The second girl that he killed and left in this lot, did he think that she would be found?
Oh, man.
He seemed to think he did a good job hiding her body.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Now, the whole time that he's telling you these details, is your wife hearing any of these details?
I had the phone on speakerphone.
Now,
oh my God.
Prior to him telling you these details, how did you feel about turning him in to law enforcement?
I initially wanted to help him.
All right. I got to ask. As we listen to this, Betty, and look, I respect your opinion. I'm not going to be mean to you over it. But I got to question what makes you think that while we're listening to this. You know what I mean? How do you listen to this? How do you listen to him about his dad, talk about him bragging to him about pretty much every detail of what he did and referring to his victims as looking like spaghetti? I mean, looking like a damn meal or food. I mean, how do you hear that? I'm very curious and think, damn, you know what? Honestly, he's pretty hot. Like, I could see how people might think that when you see a TikTok of him walking into the courtroom while whatever music is playing and, you know, the way that they do those edits. But I'm just so curious how you can, your mind kind of goes there listening to this.
Did you feel conflicted about giving him over to law enforcement initially?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point when you're talking with him, did that feeling change?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I just thought, well, that was my mom or my daughter or sister or wife. I would want somebody to do that.
And did you have additional concerns of what might happen if you didn't come into law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
What was that, sir?
He would have done it again.
Now, after he's telling you all these details, do you know where he's at when he's telling you these things?
I just knew he was in a house that he broke into when he was running from the police.
Did you know the actual address of this house he broke into?
No, ma'am.
Now, when you were talking to him and you decided that you needed to give the information to law enforcement about his whereabouts, how did you get that address from him?
I told him I was going to send him an Uber and I needed the address of where he was.
Were you actually going to send him an Uber?
No, ma'am.
And so when you were going to send him an Uber, give you that address.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you then do with the address he gave you?
My wife was messaging with the officer.
Now, is your wife messaging with the officer during the course of these details that he's telling you?
Last part of them.
And so she's relaying what your son's telling you to law enforcement.
Yes, ma'am.
Giving them details.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, again, this conversation you're having with your son is on October 7th.
Yes, ma'am.
It's in the evening hours.
Yes, ma'am.
And was your understanding that
Betty, I don't think you're weird. Hey, I appreciate you being honest. I just had a question. Interesting that's what you thought about. But I don't, I'm not here to bash anybody for their opinions, and I do welcome all opinions. I also welcome friendly debate. I think it's okay to question and talk to people about their opinions. Just have to do it in a way where we don't take out on each other the way we feel about him, you know. That's all.
Him going to the bar and meeting the first woman happened the night before.
Yes, ma'am.
So at this point, when he's giving you all this information and you're giving this information to law enforcement, had the second girl's body been found?
No, ma'am.
And did it
MS girl
strike that? Now, that address you said your wife then gave to law enforcement.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you remain on the phone with your son?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you on the phone with him when law enforcement showed up at that house?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you encourage him to go outside and turn himself in?
I did. I didn't want to do anything stupid and end up getting killed. So I just told him to put his hand up and just go outside.
I have nothing under this. Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I do have one more.
Okay.
Do you see your son sitting here in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you describe an article of clothing he's wearing?
Dark suit.
Thank you. Let the reflect the witnesses identified.
Wow.
Actually, if you just give it
So
a little
they
bit more.
didn't talk to him about the jail call, the video visit? Huh. I am so surprised. Which I suppose another officer could bring it up. I've seen that before where a witness isn't on the stand. For instance, in Leilani Simon's trial, they go through some of her text messages and stuff with someone who was a witness, but it's the officer who found the text who talks about it on the stand. So it could be an officer who found the recording, a jail guard. I don't know. Maybe they won't talk about it at all, but it does surprise me.
Description.
White shirt, blue tie, dark suit.
He looks pale. Look at him there. Wow. Well, I see a little change in his expression, you guys. Hold on, because we're almost done. We got a minute left, and I'm going to let you guys go. It's going to transport you to Melissa's. However, she hasn't started yet, so you can just hit the notify me or the remind me button and on her live. This way, when she does start, it'll send you a notification. But let's go back for a second and watch his expression here. It's totally different. He looks more pale.
I did. I didn't want to do anything stupid and getting killed. So I just told him to put his hands up and just go outside.
I have nothing further and tender this witness. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I do have one.
Okay.
Do you see your son sitting in the room?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you describe an article of clothing he's wearing?
Betty.
Dark suit.
Let the record reflect that the witness is identified. Actually, if you could just give it a little bit more description so that other people.
White shirt,
Oh, my
blue
God.
tie, dark suit.
What's wrong, Wade? Huh? What's wrong? Tough guy? Surely you can handle that, right? Surely you can, since you're tough enough to, I don't know, beat up on women, take their lives, do all of the nastiest, oh my God, the nasty shit you've done. What's wrong? Are you bothered?
Any
Look
questions?
at him.
Just briefly, sir.
Can't get over that.
When you were on the phone, he told you he was hiding out from the police in that house.
Samantha.
Yes, sir.
I've heard he got emotional.
How often had you spoken with him before?
It was sporadic. One month, it may be every other day.
Who cares?
And I may not hear from him till he needs me again, 6 months, 2 months.
I think I'll make an emoji that says relevance or that's irrelevant or something like that for tomorrow, because come on, bro. Really? Like, he already said.
Whatever. It varied.
All right.
Again, he already said.
Thank you.
Nothing further. I'd ask that you.
His eyes were welling.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, you got accused.
All right, you guys. So that's it. But we're going to. I want to just play the end of that again while we chat. I'm going to mute it. So wow, I just cannot get over someone who has these, photos on their door and can just set through awful testimony about what he did to Kristine, what we've seen so far, can laugh and joke about, comparing them to like he did, like we know he did. I don't even want to repeat it. You guys know. But he can handle this and good. I'm so damn glad. Thank you, Michelle. So let me tell you guys what we have tomorrow. We have, let me see, Kristine's autopsy first, then Mila, then finding Diane, then Diane's autopsy. And actually, let me just see what's after that so I can tell you. I think that's all we'll be able to get through tomorrow. So yeah, Kristine's autopsy, then girlfriend testifies, Mila. Diane goes missing. Diane's autopsy, and then let's see. I'm sorry, you guys, taking a second to load. White Claw Wade Wilson evades police. Then we have his interview with detectives and that stuff. But I think we'll probably get through Diane's autopsy. I think it's different to him when his father, whether close or not, showed their disappointment or even disgust. I do too. You could obviously see it was different. Okay, so again, this live is going to take you to Melissa's. I'm going to share. Oh, thank you, Bendy. I'm getting ready to share. That's what I was getting ready to say. I want to share. Jen has a live a couple of hours after Melissa. I think it's at 10 p.m. Let me get back to it. On the Pike County Massacre. So I want to share that link in the chat, and you can go to that now and also do, like I said, hit that remind me. And when it starts, you will get a notification. Okay. I'm going to pin it, Casey. I got you. And I also wanted to talk about a couple of your comments. Let's see. Let me find it. Hi, Allie. Love it here. Holy cow, 16 months. Thank you for being a member for 16 months. So mods can't pin it. I can't even pin it from my phone. It's weird. I wish you could. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. And then couple things. Candace says, imagine watching this and thinking, ooh, I want his clothing. And I had told her, I'll tell you a story after this regarding their clothing. So because we've watched Letitia Stalk's trial here, gotten so much of her jail records, went through the lawsuit, all that kind of stuff, it came up in her lawsuit. She's suing the prison that she's in. And apparently she was trying to say that, they're punishing me, taking my tablet. Well, actually, what happened was she was busted selling a pair of her prison sweatpants on eBay for $200. So I know probably women want his clothing, but also there are collectors. So after we found that out, Jen was up here with me. We had a guest come up on the panel, and he was they call it murderabilia, collector. And he collected stuff like that from different people who had been convicted of these kind of heinous crimes. It's crazy that that's a thing, but it's a thing. Also, let's see. I think there was anything else that I had saved. No, that's it. Okay. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. Thank you to Melissa for sending everyone. I really appreciate that. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to the chat. Please check out the channels that I drop. Jen's, which I just pinned her link. Amber was in here. Let me get hers. I think Nanya is in the Nightbot, so I'm going to drop hers as well. Just a lot of... as people come in, sometimes I like to drop their links so you guys can have other channels to check out. But Samantha says, I really need to get into Letitia stuff. It seems like there is so much to go over and I don't even know where to start. I know there is so much. hell. I do have a series on my channel called The Jail Files, and some of those are short videos just reading through her files. There's a playlist of a couple things on my channel, and then some of the calls that Jen and I have done, those playlists. So you could check those out, and they go in order. Otherwise, there's so much more besides that, but it's hard to point you to one thing directly because there is so much. Think I want to tell you what a man done to me? Let's see. Thank you, Kelly. So yeah, as I'm dropping channels coming in, I see Little Red, you just came in. I will drop yours. I don't think it's in my Nightbot though, so let me see. Thank you, Jen. All right, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. I've enjoyed this. Like I want to know the information, so it's really been interesting. I can never get enough Letitia. I know, Nancy. I think she's planning on something soon. I don't know what. I don't know when. But I know she wants to go back to it some. And there's some things I'm waiting on too. We've got some other questions and requests, and I'll let you guys know. Thank you, B Crumbs. Okay, so, all right, you guys. I'm going to let you go. Like I said, this chat will go to Melissa's. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to everyone. And yeah, I usually have trouble like saying goodbye. I'll sit here for like 20 minutes and say goodbye over and over. So I'm not going to do that to you today. I'm not going to torture you, but yeah. Have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow or over tonight at Jen's or Melissa's or somewhere. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.